My guest today is Christian Cagigal, and we're here to talk about you, your magic, spooky things, and whatever else comes about. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I usually start at the beginning with my guests. You go all the way back. Why are we here? How'd you get here? Do you remember the first time you saw a magic trick or a magician or?
Sure. I mean, I was always I'm a baby of the late 70s and kid of the 80s and teen of the early 90s. So TV still had very much a variety show element to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see magicians and comics and whatnot, right? The San Francisco scene, because I'm in Daly City, a suburb, like a 1940s suburb just outside of San Francisco. So essentially, literally San Francisco, I can see it from my house, right? And so we'd go there all the time on the weekends, right, for stuff. And I would love to go to Fisherman's Wharf. And there was a really rich and vibrant street performing scene.
Nice.
And so you would see puppeteers and a magician and an escape artist and who knows what the heck else, right? And I just loved all of that. There was San Francisco has always been subversive in its own way, or there's always been a culture of that. But particularly in the 70s and 80s, there was a really playful subversion, right? And there was the whole vaudeville nouveau that kind of came out. That was kind of like short-lived in that the street performers kind of didn't realize they were creating all that. So all that was just kind of like in the air for me. And then, TV specials, famous magicians who had TV specials, right? And I would watch those and I would record those. And the recording happened later. I wasn't really into it until I was like more 11 or 12. But and when they said in kindergarten, draw yourself when you're an adult, I drew myself as a ringmaster, right?
Nice.
So all of that was kind of already kind of like in the stew for me, right? And then later on, I was raised on watching old movies on, before there was cable, there was an antenna, you had to move them this way and you stand that way to catch the.
That's a great Di Vernon.
Thank you. And I'm watching like there was two dials, right? There was the VHF and the UHF, right? The VHF, the primary channels, and the UHF were all the crap channels. But they played all the reruns there. So I'm watching like all the old movies on that stuff, right? And all
100%.
And so just like old timey 20th century entertainment was just like mainlined into this only child's head.
Nice.
Because he was a shy only child who just hung out with himself. And so eventually it wasn't, it made sense that I'd dabble in magic a little bit when I was in preschool, but I couldn't do it, right? I was just kind of my mom got me a magic book from the Scholastic Book Fair in the first grade, right? Because I was like, Mom, I want this one. I still have it someplace. Fourth grade, I remember McDonald's Happy Meals were magic tricks.
Yes.
And so I collect all those, right? And then I made myself my own little magic kit with like construction paper and a shoebox, and I put each thing in its own little compartment, right? And then it really kind of clicked for me like 6th, 7th grade. Again, there was the TV specials. There's everything I had said. Comedy concerts were becoming more of a thing, right? Now everybody's got a half hour, right? Back in our day, it was like an hour long on Showtime, and if you were really rich, you had HBO, so you can see like the really good comics, right?
Right.
Or you could watch HBO scrambled through wavy lines on your TV screen. And so all my cousins would record those, and we would watch those on like family holidays, right?
Yeah.
And so there I had this experience of being in an audience, which I loved being. If I got my parents to take me to the circus, or we watched the street performers, like I said, I loved being in an audience and I loved experiencing, especially being the shy only kid. That was my way of having like a moment of community and connection, right?
Right.
And then for me, it was kind of when all that stuff kind of like knitted itself together. Finally, was Harry Anderson's Hello Sucker special from Showtime, which had already aired in 86, but this is 88 by the time I see it. And I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
You can do this for a living, right? And I was already staying up late watching Night Court anyways, right? Because we all stay up on a Thursday night to watch, 2-3 hours of sitcoms, right? And so the next time it aired, I recorded it and I watched that thing morning, noon, and night, right? I can still kind of like go through those lines. I can lip sync myself to
synchronize
it to what he's now. I mean, I still have like 3-card Monarch cards just because I don't need them. I'm never going to use them, but I still have them.
Right.
I'm nearly 50. What? It's been 40 years or so, almost a little less than 40 years. But I fell in love with both the stand-up comedy aspect, right? Because I was already like watching a lot of that, right? But it had fun gags and had that street performer vibe to him because he does from the street as well, right?
Right.
And then like really great magic. And then the thing that like just like hooked me was, for all of us who were nerds for Harry Anderson once upon a time, the Needle Through Arm and his 3-card Monarch, because they were like 50% story. They were 50% monologue, right? The 3-card, it took me years to figure out how he did 3-card Monarch, right?
Right.
Because I didn't know what a double-faced card was yet. I didn't say that out loud. But it took me years to also realize there's only 2.5 phases of magic in that whole routine.
Right.
And the first phase isn't really a phase. And it took me years to realize, oh, it's him and the story and just a good trick that then punctuated the good trick, and the trick punctuated the scripting.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't one or the other. They very much like lined up together. And I thought to myself, oh, but as a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, I didn't know that that's what was grabbing me. But grabbing me, right?
Right.
And then eventually I get my parents to take me to see David Copperfield in Tahoe, right? And I'm like, oh, I can do this for a living too, right?
What year was that? Do you remember what year?
88 or 9.
So it was middle of his career, essentially.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then Penn and Teller Penn and Teller, you know, like when they became Penn and Teller was shortly after their time as Asparagus Valley Cultural Society, right? And that was here in San Francisco. And so they were part of that soup of all the performers and the artists and all that crazy avant-garde stuff going on. And which might be why I sort of even had an affinity for them back then. Like, to me, the skeptical angle never got me. I was like, oh, that's fun. But like, they did the weird domestication of animals or a book test with kids from all over the audience and a Bible and a dartboard, right? Like that's the stuff that made me go, whoa, what's going on here? This is crazy, right? And so that's all happening in this little 12-year-old's brain, right?
Right.
Brain. And so and then a buddy of mine, a friend of mine in junior high, his family were magic fans. They weren't magicians, they were just magic fans. And they had recorded they had a 6-hour EP tape of Copperfield shows with with the commercials paused out. So there's just clean, right?
Streaming straight through. That's awesome.
And so they dubbed me a copy. And between that and Penn and Teller's first special and Harry Anderson, and then later on, there was a Magic from the Magic Castle on CBS, I think it was, that I recorded on a different EP tape. There was Magic from the Magic Kingdom from Disneyland when Siegfried and Roy made the Sleeping Beauty's castle disappear, or Cinderella's Sleeping Beauty's castle disappear, and the way you would imagine making something large.
You're right.
And yeah, so like I and then my parents, and then there's so many reasons, and then shortly after that Harry Anderson special, when I finally recorded, this is still 1988, I learned about, there was like a local TV show that goes to different locales, and they were broadcasting from the House of Magic on Fillmore and Chestnut out in the marina. And I'm like, Mom, we have to go, Mom. So like the next day we go. Yeah. And I would just go like every other week. My dad would drive me all the way out. And they didn't like everybody, I came to discover later on. Yeah. They were like kind of a grumpy old magic shop, but they like, and you couldn't be under 21 and be in there because of all this porn stuff. But I did not care about, porn is like right behind me. And I'm just like looking down at all the magic. Right? So they were like, let the kid be. So my dad would wait in the car and I would like be in the magic shop for like a half hour and he'd show me stuff and I'd buy something and learn it. So all this is happening and I, again, shy kid, quiet kid, parents don't have a lot of money, and I did not know about magic conventions yet. I didn't, I was not getting a genie or a magic yet. Right. I think maybe a couple issues, but I'm looking at these things going, well, I'm never getting my parents to pay to in a desert seminar or whatever, right? So those VHS tapes and those EP tapes that I would fill up with magic is how I watched other performers. They were my magic convention, and they were also what I studied. They just, again, mainlined them into my brain of like, here's how to perform, right? That's awesome. And as a kid, what do? You copy, right? Which I think is a great way to learn when you're a kid, because you're learning how to do.
Yeah.
You're learning what good feels like, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when I got, so then, and then in junior high, I become 6th grade in junior high, I become known as Magic Man because all of us, I think all of us like Gen X magicians,
Right.
if we grew up in a POC world, we were all like, yo, Magic Man, right? And so
So
it's
I'm not the
Magic.
only one. Got it.
No, God, no, we're all Magic Man. And then when I finally got to high school, I thought, well, all my heroes know how to perform or know how to do theater or know how to do storytelling or know how to act. So let me become a better actor so I can become a better magician.
Right.
And then what happens then? You fall in love with acting and you fall in love with theater, and then theater and magic kind of always kind of like were in tandem for me throughout to this day, really.
Yeah.
So much so that it became for me as I go into adulthood, how do I mix magic and theater together? How do I do this?
Right.
But I mean, I worked as an actor. I was in theater companies. I worked on new works and avant-garde stuff and musicals, political theater, everything. I watched lots of theater, lots of indie theater. Because we used to have we still do, but we used to have a very rich independent theater scene here.
Yeah.
But economies crash and pandemics happen, and suddenly things unfortunately atrophy and gentrification of the tech world.
Right.
I like tech, but unfortunately, those coming in meant the landlords jacked up the rent, and literally my audiences would be moving away. My email list would shrink, right?
Right.
Because my audience were like the indie theater audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then I continued that going into college. I kind of stopped performing magic in early college just to kind of try and be a normal human being for a little bit.
Yeah.
But the idea was to be normal and for a bit, and then like get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like mid-20s, I finally got to SF State, got my degree in theater, started auditioning off campus.
Do you feel like your Salvadorian and Spanish roots have any influence over your sense of story and wonder when you're performing?
I mean, I almost want to say no.
Interesting.
Because I think as a kid, I kind of eschewed my cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
As one does when you're POC or POC light. My mom was from El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is from Spain. So I see POC light because I'm like, well, Spain are still like, the white conquistadors.
I mean, yeah.
I like to say I am café con leche.
See?
Mucho, mucho leche. Sometimes I'm leche intolerant. And that is not a good thing for any of us.
No. Especially for us Hispanics.
But yeah, so I think as a kid I was eschewing the culture, and I would occasionally my parents my family would be watching Univision or whatever, or Sábado Gigante. It was rare. We didn't actually watch those things here, but occasionally. And they're cheesy, so I kind of like roll my eyes about it, right? As a kid. Now I go, I wished I watched more of that.
Right.
That shit's great.
Yeah.
So on the outset, I would say no. However, as a grown up now, I can look back and go, I don't think, because I eventually started going into not just theatrical and narrative based magic, but it got darker, it got spookier, or my solo show is very kind of confessional, kind of like putting the heart right there on the stage. And that's, I mean, I'm going to play stereotypes here.
Don't get me in trouble.
We're Latin, like we have feelings.
Yeah.
And we discuss them out loud, even if
do we discuss them? No.
Right.
Do we discuss them?
I mean, we don't talk to our therapists, right? We don't with mom and dad, right? But I mean, like we literally are vibrating on a kind of level that, let's face it, our whiter friends that may have grown up in I don't know, it's bougie places, or civil places, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They didn't, right? I mean, when my mom passed or was passing, I mean, it's probably the same thing for you. Large family. I've been going to funerals since I was like 5. I saw my first body in a casket when I was 5, right?
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, right? Yeah. Like when somebody in the family dies, you could collectively hate them. 200 people are showing up to their funeral.
Yeah.
Right? The procession of cars to the cemetery is going to be long, right? Because we're honoring they are no longer here.
Yes.
Right?
We take the dead seriously.
Right. And a lot of my white friends were like, "So what was it like when your mom died? And what was the
Mm,
funeral like?" And their parents even protected them from when grandma died, right?
interesting.
So like closed casket. I mean, we can
Yeah,
argue
yeah.
about the validity of the funeral industry to begin with, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Mhm.
like we just kind of like culturally, we are the culture allows us to experience more
Right.
things. It almost demands it of us,
Mhm.
right? Whereas other cultures don't do that, or at least not in the same way.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be a big part. So I think that's where the Latino-ness and Hispanicness
Mhm.
courses through me and then out onto the page and the stage, right?
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah, my experience with it, I always tell people I have a really strange relationship with death. I was born in Guatemala. I was adopted into a white Jewish Italian family in New Jersey.
damn.
So immediately I got, my grandparents were kosher. So my dad was reformed.
Okay.
My mom, who adopted me, passed away when I was I was turning 6. So same thing. I had experienced death at such a young age, and ever since then, it's just trickled on from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such an interesting thing to, yeah, my relationship is very strange because, yeah, people just kind of, as time goes on, I'm the youngest in my family, which is great, but it also sucks because I was just talking to a friend about it. You see everybody go before you,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that and I hate it because I get to see everybody's lives thrive,
Right.
God willingly, or
Right.
the higher power, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but even in Jewish religion, we sit Shiva for a whole week. We wear black and we sit Shiva. And when
Mm-hmm.
we do that, we're always talking about the dead. We're always talking about the person that passed and it's very my experience with it is it's very, very heavy,
Yeah.
which is what brought me into being part of the unexplainable. I've experienced things that I just can't explain, which we could talk about at some point. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, very interesting. And then going back into my Guatemalan roots, like I brushed it off for so long, like, oh no, I'm just Jewish, I'm white, I'm Italian,
Uh-huh.
whatever. And then hiring someone to go look for my family in Guatemala and finding them and realizing, wow, like the culture in Guatemala is rich and it's deep and
Mhm.
it's thick and there's storytelling and there's rich heritage and so I'm talking to my sisters all the time in Guatemala and they're telling me stories, but interestingly enough, finding out that my birth mother had passed away 2 years after I was born really brought it all full circle, because
Mhm.
regardless of where my path would have taken me, I would have been without a mother and I've also
Mhm.
would have experienced death at a young age. So it's the same thing, them explaining how my birth grandparents and how my birth mother had passed away. They said the funeral was massive because it's people in the community, it's people from the church, it's people from, whoever knew them, they came to the funeral and it's
Mhm.
fully packed in the church, which is like they sent me pictures. It's like a small church. It's not like here in America where it's like this cathedral of
Mhm.
a church. So yeah, I think now even with my magic too, I'm finding Guatemalan roots, which are kind of trying to incorporate it as like a medicine man
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to talk about your theater experience. You're
Mhm.
at college. Did you fall in love with the stage as soon as you went into college? Because I'm assuming creatively you're able to write and, just be in full theater, mode and
Yeah, no, the theater for me came in high school.
yeah.
So that, yeah, I already fell in love with it there. I mean, to this day, I love the look of par can light on a stage,
Mm,
right? I just like it just feels like home.
authentic.
Yeah. And whether that stage is a black box for 30 people or a venue for 2,000 people, it's like stage light on a stage, just like it feels good to me.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to be on the stage. I could just be looking at it from the audience. It just feels good to me, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, for me, it was always about the storytelling. As an actor, I still think of myself as just the storyteller and what needs to be told.
I think it's also poetic. You know, your work is also poetic, and it's dark, and it's psychological. And it's interesting that you went that route rather than one of your idols, Harry Anderson, where it was comedy, stand up, and magic. Was there, because you're not doing spectacle and grand illusion. So was there, what brought you around to that?
Yeah, no money is really the short
Yeah.
answer. You know, I'm really just a frustrated illusionist at heart. And other times when I want to say more with my magic, because I joke that I'm just a frustrated comedian at heart because I
Right.
could say more things and get away with it more. But you know, I would love to create and have the budget to create magical worlds on stage, right? But that, you know, when you're 25, 26, and you don't have the money for that. I mean, there's a reason why, at least I think in the 90s aughts onward, like magic kind of tipped towards close pop culturally tipped towards close-up magic and mentalism, is
Right.
because a number of cultural reasons. And I think one of those is they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Like illusions are expensive,
Right.
and so is the assistant, and so is the storage, and so is
Right.
the trucking it, right? And so yeah, same thing for me. It's like, well, I can't afford these illusions, and I wanted to experiment with how to mess with magic in theater,
Right.
and that requires trial and error,
Right.
and you can't trial and error with an illusion oh, I got to go back to the drawing board. And I
Right.
didn't want to do traditional box stuff. I wanted like built into the scenario, right? So I was like, well, I can't afford any of that. Um, and I didn't really know I was going to go into bizarre, but I was already exposed to theater and independent theater where you have nothing, but you have some set, some prop, some skilled actors, and hopefully a skilled director, and
Right.
like make whole worlds with nothing,
Right.
right? And it's the audience's imagination that is helping to fill in the rest, and you give, and hopefully you construct it in just the right way where you give the audience some level of intelligence, like you honor that they are smart individuals who can fill in the blanks with you, right?
Right.
So at some point, now by this point I already had friends who were bizarrists. My friend Jim had created the first ghost walk in San Francisco called the San Francisco Ghost Hunt Walking Tour. I helped him create it. I was already becoming known. I was already like in the late 90s, early aughts. I was already known as the storytelling magician in the area, and so he wanted my help. He was just a day jobber who loved bizarre magic.
Right. And you were doing Spooky Bazaar then too, or you were just being introduced to it? And yeah.
I was barely being introduced. If you looked at my shows back then, they were just a variety show, but maybe there'd be like, I would do a story at the end, right?
Interesting.
It was kind of more like a traditional magic show you would see.
Yeah, yeah. A little artsy too. A little
A little
avant-garde,
artsy.
yeah.
Like I mean, I could send you some old YouTube clips that are up, but you know, it's me in front of a brick wall on a theater stage in a t-shirt and jeans and a blazer.
Yeah.
And I'm doing, here's some comedy magic, here's this magic, here's that magic, here's the weird piece of mentalism, here's the story with the theme at the end, and then a snowstorm, right? So, I mean, I could argue kind of what a lot of people kind of do now.
Yeah.
But this is like the early 2000s, and David Blaine is like the thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So me being more variety and performative, just with a t-shirt in front of a brick wall, wasn't like the thing yet. We were kind of like, we were focusing on this like,
can you levitate?
Can you levitate and then pick up random junk off the road and do a miracle with it, and then like away.
Right. Coin in bottle with a beer bottle.
Coin in bottle, and like, oh my God.
Right.
And how'd you get that card on the other side of the glass around the block?
Little do you know.
Little do you know. And of course I couldn't do that either. I had nobody I didn't say that either. So that wasn't really the thing at the time, right? But again, I was sitting there trying to figure out, how do I mix magic and theater? How do I mix magic and theater? How do I mix magic and theater? So I had theatrical moments, but because of my experience with theater and being known as a storytelling guy,
right,
my friend Jim asked me to help him create the ghost hunt. And so he approached it as a storyteller. And I kind of like did a little bit of magic consulting on, oh, you should do this effect here and this effect there on this part of the tour and that part of the tour. And I would do research for him, right? So that was fun because I would look up old San Francisco history and learn cool stuff that I didn't know about before. And then he introduced me to his little clutch of weirdo bizarrists who are, just amateur lovers of it.
Yeah.
But these were already the guys who were like collecting all like the bizarre props, had like 10,000 books in boxes, right? Because we all love boxes if we're in bizarre magic. And there would even be moments where, I mean, like back then in 2003 and 4, I was doing a needle through arm routine.
Oh,
of course, homage to Harry, obviously, right?
Right.
I kind of tried. I used the outline of his routine to make my own routine, right? But and the whole idea was is it fake or is this real?
Right.
And I was kind of amplifying that part that Harry says in his routine.
Yeah.
And my friend Jim, the Ghost Walk guy, says, "Well, that's bizarre." It is? Yeah, and he explains it to me in his take, right? But I didn't see it as bizarre. I just saw it as theater. And around 2006, so this now by this point, I've already like graduated college. I've done a bunch of theater. I did the San Francisco Fringe Festival twice for 2003 and 4. And again, still a variety style. Like here's the comedy piece, storytelling piece, and here's the dramatic piece, and here's the mentalism. And I won't go into like all the trials and tribulations. I was going through some stuff in my like age 30, 31 that were leading to panic attacks. And when I had to go to the hospital, not the ER a couple times, and they were like, figure it out. And then one doctor finally figured it out. I'm like, oh, that makes sense why I would have these things.
It's always that one doctor that figures it out.
Right. And so I step out of the ER with my girlfriend at the time, and I look at her and I say, and mind you, I'm broke and I've not been spending money on anything for a couple of years. And I'm like, babe, shopping therapy. And I went to go buy art.
Nice.
We went to Virgin Megastore when that was a thing. We had a Virgin Megastore. 4 or 5 floors of music, CDs. And I bought myself just 4 or 5 CDs that I wanted, right?
Yeah.
And then I went to the magic shop and I bought, just because I wanted it, Daryl's Sponge Bunnies.
Nice. Right? Good purchase.
Rabbit goes to town, right? The bunny bird, right? I'm all like, I just want them because I just want them, right? I just want to practice in front of the mirror and maybe torture some friends with bunny bird.
Yeah.
And now I had already borrowed a couple bizarre books from my bizarre friends by this point. Like I read through them a little bit and then I gave it back, obviously. But, and I had already been introduced to the work of Christian Schellman. And obviously I was already introduced to Eugene Berger before that, right? But
what about Andrewsy?
Yeah, I'm sure I knew the name Andrewsy, but I've not looked at any books yet. But Schellman had just come out with Hauntiques in English, right? And so I'm all like, I think I want that book. I don't know why. I don't have an answer for you. I was just kind of like, yeah, let's get something brand new into my brain, right? I say down the rabbit hole. Christian would say, no, you went through the looking glass.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with, for your listeners and viewers, Christian Schellman, bizarrist. And mind you, he may not call himself a bizarrist, but the bizarre world, the bizarre umbrella has enveloped him. He's from Belgium. His whole concept is that he's not a magician. He's the curator of a supernatural museum. Not even the collector, the curator of the supernatural museum.
Very cool.
There's some mythical collector out there in the world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And his home is literally a museum of magical antiquities. Whether they were ever successfully used for magic is a whole other issue.
Right.
But a lot of it are like, he has divination systems from around the world. Right?
Interesting.
He has fairy stones where people would take a stone, dig out a hole into the stone so you can look for fairies that way. Whether anybody actually saw fairies is besides the point. He has those stones, right?
Very cool.
He has an actual vampire killing kit, not the fake ones, a real one. He says, I forget exactly how it went, but he pulls up the revolver and he says, see, now this one is a real because there's a thing here, here, and here. The other ones only have one here. Those are fake, right? So like,
it's amazing,
right? Since the 70s, when he kind of stumbled upon this aesthetic for himself, he's been collecting all this cool, weird, old, spooky stuff. Yeah. And of course, Europe has everything because they stole everything. So all their flea markets have amazing things, right? And it's true, right? By the time I get a cool antique in California, it's a little too expensive for me to buy.
Right.
But his whole thing is that he does the research on the item, and then and like a curator of a museum will tell you the research of that item and a story that's attached to it. And then when the facts run out, the fantasy takes over.
Nice.
And then he's not demonstrating tricks for you. He is activating the magic in them, or activating how the magic connects to you and how they activate the magic in you. Right.
It's powerful.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Right. And so like I'm reading this going, because this wasn't quite the vibe still in a Capricornian.
Right.
It was there, but like Hantiques really fleshed it out. And I was like, this is how I could create that world of magic, even though I can't afford all the sets and props. Right? This is how I can use story, because I've been doing storytelling, and that helps me fill out the world more. And so in a small theater, I can do more with people's imaginations. Just like, to me, really great theater does.
Right.
Or at least like independent theater and physical theater and avant-garde theater. And then I thought to myself, but if I'm gonna, and I haven't gone by the strict Hantiques playbook, but it's very much influenced what I do.
Right.
And I realized, well, if I'm gonna do this kind of very implicit form of theater, then the magic has to be very implicit, which then becomes mentalism, to my point of view, to my way. Because mentalism, you force a card, and it could be aliens, grandma whispering over your shoulder, psychic powers. You could attribute one card force to any number of mythical skills, right? Including psychology, even, right? And so that then also decided, because it's going to have to be spooky and implicit, and to me, good spooky is implicit.
Right.
Like seance magic should not be you make a ghost appear. Seance magic is you ring the bell in the dark with the candles lit long enough, and like you hear something in the corner and something falls over there, and and then you lift up the slates and a message appears. Like it's 3 or 4 tricks that just suggest that something is in the room, right? But this was also then going to decide the kind of theater I was going to be doing, because that meant that how I approached the theater and the storytelling had to be a little more implicit. I couldn't always tell you everything. I had to like leave it up to you to figure it out. You could say it's a little bit like improvisational jazz way. Like I'm not playing certain notes because I hope you'll play them in your head.
Yeah.
and so it just made me go, oh no, but if I'm going to do all this, that means I have to become a bizarrist. Right. And I'm like, damn, I never thought I was going to go down that path. And by this point, I'd worked with Jim on the Ghost Tour, right? Like I got unfamiliar, but it wasn't what I was trying to go for at all.
Right.
It was not the dream come true.
Yeah. It sucked you in.
It did suck me in.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like, look, I'm a very kinetic personality.
Yeah.
In musical theater, I'm always like the short, funny one with all the one-liners and like the one really fun song, right? I'm kinetic, I'm goofy, I'm clownish, I'm vaudevillian.
Yeah.
That's I still dream of being the voice of a Disney film and of the psychic in a Disney movie, and I made a Disney movie one day, right? I sort of feel that era is gone, but
Disney's pumping out everything, so
exactly, they do everything. The Disney is everything,
right?
Soon Oracle and Amazon will be under Disney,
exactly.
But I had to like teach myself to kind of pull it back, right? To do this bizarre stuff, right? Which was a huge lesson. And I was very scared, because like, you want people to like you. And now I felt like I was daring you not to like me, which it was true. I was daring you not to like me.
Yeah.
I wasn't being an asshole. I just was daring you to like not be wooed over by me immediately.
Right. Do you think people, when you're performing bizarre magic, spooky magic, do you think they're encapsulated or enthralled by it differently than close-up magic? Like cards, coins, the classics sort of.
They're enraptured by it differently than the person next to them.
Interesting.
Because it becomes a really communal but personal experience. One can say that's true about everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, it depends on the person. Because some people believe in this stuff and they freak out when you make the card change. It does not compute with what they know the reality to be, but there's a part of them that says, but there's a part of reality that can do this. I think you just did that, right?
Right.
So yeah. But like I said, like one card force can be grandma whispering over your shoulder, or I psychologically got you to give me the answer through poker tells, right?
Right.
So it just becomes like a different framing.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment, the moment you do, Christian Shellman will talk a lot about when he first discovered the power of this stuff. If I recall correctly, it was he, like at a little fair, antique fair or something, he found a little scarab from Egypt, a little carved scarab.
Yeah.
And I think it was the scarab that he involved in the card trick. And he's already a very skilled technician.
Mm-hmm.
We like to think of bazaars as having no skill and too much story and an Elmsley count. but skilled technician who just added in this little scarab, and he felt the room change, right? Because now you're just butting up against, more so than traditional magic, butting up against people's beliefs. But also, to me, I think the reason I really enjoyed getting into spooky magic or bizarre magic, especially in this area, especially because people have their ideas of what they think California and the Bay Area is, and they're all wrong. It's its own stew and soup, right? So yes, there is an element of like woo here, right? But especially in the arts scene, everybody, especially in the indie theater scene, everyone considers themselves an intellectual, and lots of atheists,
right?
And I really enjoyed getting those intellectuals to wonder if the shit was real.
100%.
That became my fun thing.
100%.
Even though I don't believe in any of this stuff myself. But
I was going to ask you that if you've ever experienced real unexplained activity, or I'll even say paranormal activity.
I mean, no, not in my regular life. Now, Jim retired from the Ghost Tour 10 years ago. I bought it from him because it was more stable than being an indie theater artist. And so I've been running that for the past 10 years off and on. And so more stuff has happened, but it's always like on the tour, right?
Right. And not like planned. Like these aren't things that
just random little bits.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just random little bits, right? Over 10 years, I can't say that's a huge.
Does it make you teether? Like maybe? No. Interesting.
But I love it when it happens. I love it when I don't have the answer. Because sometimes I say that it was a very important idea and I forgot it.
What's your thought process personally when you're experiencing or have experienced something like that? Do you just say it's just the wind and it knocked it over? Or
the thing I was about to say, because I just remembered it, that answers that question, is to me, coincidence is just the skeptic's word for magic.
Yeah.
And I just kind of I like reversing that one, like making it go in the other direction, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes the coincidence, to me, like, look, there's this one ghost on my tour, the story, very important person in San Francisco history, that is said to occasionally appear in the trees that she planted as a raven or a crow. Now, look, I'll be honest. Climate change is definitely real, and we have lost a lot of seagulls. Like seagulls are like not a thing as much here in San Francisco.
Really?
I mean, they're still there, but they used to be all the time. But I will wake up in
pigeons.
Wake up in the morning, and there's like 10 ravens on my lawn, like pigeons. Absolutely, ravens, and then later on the crows show up. So the odds of a raven flying over at the right moment while I'm telling the ghost story is not an unreasonable probability at this point, right? But we've been doing the tour for, the tour's been on for like 25, 26 years. So that long ago, they were not nearly as prevalent. They were very rare. But, sometimes at just the right moment in that story, and I'm all like, the woman's name is Mary, the ghost, the historical figure.
Yeah.
And I just say to myself, thanks, Mary.
We'll be back tomorrow night and the night after that.
Right? Just like this little moment where the universe just let the mechanisms of the universe just said, in my favor. I'm like, all right.
That's interesting.
And people paid for a ghost tour, so it's not my job to tell them that they didn't have that experience. 100%. If this were a science tour, I'd be saying something else, right?
Yes. That's interesting though, because I've experienced paranormal stuff, like heavy paranormal activity, and as a magician, right, I'm sitting there like, I don't believe it. There's just things that I've experienced, and even I'll say people I've met where I've looked them in the eyes with no drugs in my system, and I don't know what they are. That sounds very bizarre, and you probably don't believe me, but, and I don't tell a lot of people this, and now I'm saying it on my podcast, which is crazy. Yeah, there's people I've met and I've shaken their hands and sat at tables with them, and I don't know what they are. There's nothing behind their eyes.
Now, do you mean like
I'm not going to...
a corporeal individual that you feel there's something else there or not there? Or are you saying a possibly non-corporeal individual that you're literally meeting and shaking hands with?
Someone who I don't know, who I'm meeting from a group of friends or an associate of mine or something like that, whatever it is. And yeah, I've interacted with people who there's something about them that's not, this sounds so crazy saying it out loud. There's something about them that's not, yeah, they're not human. I know that's very controversial. It's not the right podcast for that, but let me jot that down for therapy tomorrow. Narcissist. Yeah.
Sorry, my
but the paranormal activity stuff is very...
I'm nothing but narcissist tech. Why am I getting all this narcissist feed right now? I don't need to know about narcissist.
But no, but I've experienced things that I don't... Nobody home, even as a kid. Yeah, I don't know what it is and can't explain it.
And mind you, like, it's very common. Like, people tell me their stories at the end of the tour, and I absorb them because it's my job to do that. Now I open up that door. I have to be the vessel for it, right? I can't tell them no. And yeah, people have their experiences, and I'm not there to experience it with them, so I can't try and explain it away.
Right.
I just, like if I'm proven wrong, sweet.
Right.
But I've definitely not experienced it in my non-ghost tour life.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that I wasn't scared as shit as when I was a kid. I was always scared about everything. The dark room always felt to me, right? But yeah, people have these experiences and they tell me about them. And so, like a relative of mine, I'll trying to vague it up, really believes in these things. Someone I did not think would believe in these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they think I'm going to hell because of the things I do.
Well, that's the interesting thing with the Hispanic culture is that it's, yeah.
And so when they saw me pull out a Ouija board in the haunted hotel room to do mentalism, and I'm just doing mentalism. I'm just doing a routine for my buddy, for my buddy Joe Diamond, one of my closest friends, Joe Diamond. And I'm just doing one of his routines he's allowed me to do in the show. Again, it's just they wrote a name down, and I could divine it with the Ouija board. Choose your favorite method, right? I mean, you know what we're saying, right?
Let's get the book out.
But frame it with the Ouija board and a blindfold in a darkened haunted hotel room that you just told them all the history about, right?
Right.
This starts heightening people's senses. Even if you don't believe in the paranormal, the idea of the paranormal can still feel threatening.
Right.
Because to be spooky or bizarre, there kind of has to be a threat. Not like an immediate threat, not like a threat, but I mean, like, there has to be just the idea of like, is there something else here that I am not aware of? Right?
Yeah.
And that you can't be spooked out and be comfortable. You have to be slightly under threat, right?
Yeah.
And the threat of something happening, of something.
Yeah.
I have a doll in one of my shows, and I used her in the Witching Hour, my latest show as well. But I've had her for many years. She's part of my show, The Pandora Experiment. She sits in my baby rocking chair that I sat in when I was like 5, right?
That's awesome.
And just this porcelain thing that is kind of like, right? And that's enough. That's unnerving for people. And I have had magicians say, well, she should move. Like, maybe wouldn't it be cool if like her head went like that? I'm like, no. I mean, yes, it'll get a scream, but
it's not necessary.
Excuse me. Yes. Excuse me. I got so worked up, I got belchy. But I mean, yes, it'll get a scream and it'll work, right? But and then we'll all have fun watching that person scream. There's a value to that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I want people to kind of always be left wondering, but was it real?
Right.
Really enjoy that place. And I think the moment the doll's head moves, it's now a battery operated doll.
Right.
But if the doll just sits there and you're just waiting for it to move for the next 10 minutes, now you're in a place, right? That now there's a tension there.
Yeah.
And I haven't done anything, right? I just very slowly put the doll in the chair and adjust her little arms on the arms of the chair, and just very deliberately just good to her, and then I just leave her be. And now for the next, again, 10 minutes while I'm trying to do mentalism, the audience I'm blindfolded. I'm told that and I'm doing this with the Ouija board, and I'm blindfolded and have people holding onto my shoulders, that I'm told later on, that friends who've seen the show, that like some people are always kind of going,
really?
like they're just double checking to see if the doll's gonna do anything, right?
Yeah.
Again, nothing happens.
Right.
Just that threat that a doll might move.
Right.
That something uncanny, something that is not supposed to happen in this universe, might even though nothing may happen to you personally. The doll's head moving does not mean anything will happen to you.
Right.
You are not in mortal danger.
Right.
But the idea that the doll might move, again, unnerving.
Right.
And then it think, is there something over there? Is there something in the room that I'm not aware of? Oh no, part of your mammalian brain goes, I might be in mortal danger.
Yeah. And you're in a haunted hotel already. So people are already kind of like looking around, trying to...
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but that makes people's wheels spin. People are looking for explanations. People are looking for explanations on the magic and the doll and everything. And so people's heads are now spinning. There's so many hamsters on so many wheels happening in people's brains at that point, right? And I love creating that moment, because now you are literally creating the magic show with me.
Right.
And you are create that experience. I've triggered that experience. You are now completing that experience.
Right.
You are playing the notes that Miles Davis is not playing. I'm not Miles Davis, but you know what I'm saying? And now there's a certain level of ownership of that experience. And it's true, it does not get wild amounts of applause at the end.
Right.
I still, I still want people to go, oh my God, we love you. You're the greatest thing. Let's stand up for. I still want that, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the right thing for the aesthetic, for the world I'm trying to create.
Yeah.
I don't know that my shows worked until years later, when I happened to stumble upon someone on the street, in a cafe, whatever, and they're like, "Are you the guy with the doll?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a long time since I did that show, but yeah."
Right.
And he's like, "I saw you in 2000 shmush,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you brought me, and this thing happened, and I was just telling my friend about it 2 nights ago."
Yeah.
Right? It's a decade later, right? So that meant that when I get to hear that on occasion, that means, okay, it at least worked for some people, where the magic experience becomes super personal,
Right.
and it carries with them, hopefully forever.
Yeah.
Right? And we like to talk about how, like, oh, if you make the trick happen in their hands, it becomes personal and they keep the card forever. No, they don't. I mean, they might. If you're a good performer, you may have got them, but also often they don't. It
Right.
goes.
Right.
If it remains still in the purse, it's just because they forgot it, right?
Yeah.
But just because you take the quarter from the kid's ear, that might be personal when you're 5, but when you're 25, less so, right? But hopefully that experience, experience without souvenirs attached, without signed cards and souvenirs attached, remains with them.
Right.
On the way home. They're talking about it. They're mulling it over the next day. I had certain friends who weren't expecting me to go, non-magician friends who weren't expecting me to go spooky. And they're like, I still have nightmares about that doll. Right?
Yeah. Some people just in general, they just don't like dolls.
They don't like dolls, right?
Forget about what happens with you and the doll afterwards. They just don't like dolls.
Right.
Yeah.
And again,
Which is great.
I don't do much with the doll. I mean, I kind of, she is the framing device for some of the routines. Right. And there's a certain reverence that I give her. But again, I'm just trying to trigger the threat of the doll.
Yeah. Well,
and the rest is all on you. And hopefully it's something you carry with you.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about your magic and spooky magic is I went to go see Sinners today, which everybody go see it. Go buy the tickets. Go 2 days in a row. It's a must.
I think it's a double feature now of Sinners and Thunderbolts.
Oh, wow. Nice. And of course I texted you and I was like, do you watch a lot of horror movies? And your answer was,
nope.
No, but you're creating deep moments of unease in your shows.
Unease. I like unease. I like a strain of tension. I do not like being horrified.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a grown up. I can watch horror movies
Right.
now, right?
Right.
If you tell me there's a really good horror movie you should watch, you should go watch, and I will respect it, and I will
Right.
go
Right.
watch
Right.
it. If it's just a good movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple years ago, I dated somebody who was super into horror films, and I'm like, all right, babe, it's October. I want give me your list. How do
Yeah.
you matriculate me into horror films,
Right.
right? And you know, and now watching the classics that would have scared the shit out of me when I was 5, I'm like, oh, okay, that's those special effects are okay, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They were really scary back then.
Yeah.
And I think just as a kid, I mean, you know, childhood was rocky in this household. So more instability and more rockiness. No,
0 stars. Don't recommend.
no. I want safety. I want magic is going to make everything work out in the end.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell flies over and sprinkles fairy dust, and
Mm-hmm.
everything is fine, right?
Yeah.
And I still love that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, that's how a child soothed trauma,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
As a grown up, I was like, oh, what if magic isn't the answer? What else can be the answer?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I would explore in the magic.
Yeah.
In the show.
It's interesting that you don't pull from, you know, there's people who are into bizarre and spooky who say Dracula, and I love the idea of, like, Eugene Berger has the Dracula card effect, and it's, I don't know if that's what it's called, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah.
but that's a story about Dracula and girls, and you know, that whole thing, and it's drawing from Dracula, and you don't do that. You're not drawing from.
I kind of don't care. I mean, again, if it's like, I want to see Sinners, right? But I want to see Sinners because I find the entire concept fascinating, and I love Ryan Coogler, and I'm from the Bay Area, so Fruitvale Station, I was there on opening night, right?
100%.
So I'm all for that. I think the entire thing is fascinating. I'm down to watch that. Right?
Yeah.
So if it's a good movie, I will go watch it. If somebody, you know, I watched True Blood, but that was more of a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
That was more of like, let me go watch soap opera with my friends, have popcorn, and watch our
vampire telenovela.
Total telenovela, right? Yeah. But you know, David Parr is another one of my closest friends, and he's super into monsters, right? He's super into the horror, and like, just not my thing, right?
Yeah.
To me, I think the kind of, and I even eschewed too many trappings of bizarre and spooky with my magic shows. Again, like all the horror film tropes, like I just kind of stay away from almost all of the bizarre tropes. I try to stay away from.
Right.
Only in this last show, The Witching Hour, did I actually like involve a Ouija board for the first time, and like branded that in my publicity shots on purpose. Because I also did not. I wanted to do spooky that you didn't have a bias towards or against.
Right.
So I stayed away from gothic imagery, right?
But, because
I'm also, don't really feel like I'm gothic. I like spooky things. I mean, I know I'm wearing this shirt. Twin Temple. This band.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know who this band is?
No.
I'm sorry, this conversation I'm pinging around.
No, you're fine.
That's how I do. They are not metal, even though you wouldn't think so, right? Because Twin Temple and Upside Down Crosses.
Okay.
They are doo-wop 1950s rock and roll for Satan.
Nice.
Right?
Into that.
That's where I live. Like, I love the subversion of like old school rock and roll.
Yeah.
But songs about the devil and Satan and sex.
100%. 100%.
Right? It's silly and playful, but just also really good 50s style music. Right?
Yeah.
Again, that's where I like. That's kind of like where I live, and I don't even know how to explain that better. So I didn't want to, like, in the theater shows, I did not want to play with those tropes. I didn't want you put off by them or into them. I didn't want to have like an in that way.
Right.
I almost wanted you to not ever quite know what was coming. And to me, what was spooky was the garage at night without the light on. Right. Like, to me, the dark was scary on its own in my own house.
Right.
Because, like, what's around the corner?
Right.
What's that threat? There's nothing in the house, right? It's just us in the house, right?
100%.
But your own home can be spooky on its own. And there's nothing gothic. There's nothing horrific. There's nothing scary. There's not even a ghost in the place. But
it's genius.
And so I wanted to...
Uncomfortable.
Like, my sets were old furniture, like from my family, right? Which felt spooky because you could tell that it was some old man's furniture that and I even left the dust on it
Nice.
some, like literally the dust that was on when a certain family member passed away,
Yeah.
and then we'd like get all their stuff. Like I kept the dust on it because I wanted you to feel. I don't want to distress a prop. I wanted you to feel that dust is real, even though you're not thinking that. You're gonna feel psychologically somewhere in you that dust is real. Those marks are real. They've been there. There's a history there, and
the
that all
detail
plays into your mind
mm-hmm.
psychologically, right? So yeah, so that was my way of just kind of like slowly bringing even the people who don't like being scared into my spooky little world. I wanted to make the dark a safe place to be in,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm trying to be slightly menacing.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a really weird line. It was a wave. It was a gentle wave. I had to like surf on top of the whole time, and it didn't always succeed. I had to teach myself School of Hard Knocks because there's no way to learn to do that. You just have to do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Andrews's stuff, it's very well. There's a whole bunch of it, but there's the one piece, the demon coming from the sand tray, or
The one
and
that,
that's like,
and that's the one that like never worked. I think that's the one that never worked.
yeah. There's one video of him doing it, and it like kind of sort of started to come out, and then there was another video where it really there was more smoke than what you could actually see. But the whole theatrics of him doing it, and then you're seeing something form from a tray of sand that has nothing below it, is horrific. Not spooky, not like uneasy. It's horrific because for people who are like, they believe in that stuff, it's like, holy shit.
Right.
That, I think, that piece in particular is horror. That's horror magic. That's something that, it's not bizarre. It's horrific. So I think what you're doing is, well, it's amazing, first of all. But I think creating unease is something that I actually enjoy seeing with spooky magic and bizarre magic. Because I've seen some bizarre magic where I'm like, are they really going to believe the tea leaf is going to, right? And I'm looking around at the audience like, I don't think they're buying but unease, a doll in a chair that means something. No, the head's not going to move. Did you feel me here? And do you feel that whole connection people relate to? So it's really interesting that you've taken spooky magic and you've kind of done uneasy. It's moments of uncomfortable, like you said, Miles Davis. I'm playing the notes, and then on the in between of what you're supposed to be hearing are moments that you're creating spooky wonder, which I think is great. It's amazing.
Thank you.
The Haunted Hotel is where the witching hour is or was. And
I did it a little bit in the summer, did it throughout October. I did a few more in February.
How is it different than your show Obscure? Can you talk about that? Because that's close up, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, so I guess for context here. So my shows I did the Pandora experiment, and that was very much kind of like immersive black box theater. There's sort of a story that kind of gets revealed near the end, but that was very much like me playing host to your hopefully spooky experience with mentalism and these items in a black box together.
Okay.
Now and at the Hour was the solo show. It had the elements of that, but it was very much meant to it was meant to travel. It was meant to go to fringe festivals.
Right.
Like walked in with like 2 cases, unrolled a whole show, and then like rolled up the whole show and like walked out the door again.
Right.
But that had elements of the unnerving, a little bit of the unnerving, and then kind of like go into the storytelling and stuff about me and my dad and growing up. He's a Vietnam vet with PTSD and schizophrenia. And then David Parr says to me, Christian, not all your shows have to be about how you're broken inside.
Jesus.
And he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do another show, but I didn't have the stamina to put together these shows because they're very hard to try and zipper in the magic and the storytelling and the props. And I was going through stuff because my mom was passing away. In 10 or 11, I've lost track now. 2010. The show Obscura was 2010. She passed away in 2011. But I had always wanted to do a close-up show, a storytelling close-up show, but full of like all those, like especially in bizarre magic, there are lots of card tricks and things with tarot cards or whatnot that are just an Elmsley count, right?
Right.
That are, or they're just really cool stories that I liked, but I didn't have a home to do them in. They didn't. because I'm creating these other more theatrical shows that have their own story to tell. There's lots of magic I would love to do that don't fit those shows.
Right.
And I kind of just wanted to do a show full of tricks I just really loved that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was close-up magic that played flat on a table. There's even fewer places to do that, right? Lots of close-up is kind of still kind of small parlor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like I said, first hero in magic, Harry Anderson. And anybody who's seen the Hello Sucker special, which you can find on YouTube, there was one vignette in which he's playing shell game with Turk Pipkin, who's like the mark at the bar, right?
Right.
But it's like it's a red mat. It's a nearly perfect overhead camera. It's choreographed to music, and it's just this beautiful like shell game ballet, right? It's just the hands and the items, and it's just magic, right? And I'm like, I wonder if I could do it that way. And I'd seen magicians do close-up magic on a camera on stage. The local guy, Paul Nathan, had his own storytelling show. That was much more of a kind of a fictionalized solo show.
Right.
That involved some of the magic he was already doing. And I didn't want to do quite that. I wanted to do Eugene Berger's Inquisition, and I wanted to do some Bob Neal stuff, which again is the Elmsley counts, right?
Right.
But I loved his story so much. I wanted to do some Christian Shellman. Christian Shellman has a great take on Gypsy Curse, a wild card.
Nice.
Called Paradise Lost, in which a cousin of his upset the wrong tour guide in New Orleans and lost their soul. And that's basically the wild card plot, right? With items that were, here's New Orleans doubloons, and here's the brochure for a fictional ghost tour and that kind of thing. All these pieces that I loved, but I had no home for. And so I thought to myself, well, if I did the camera thing, but I did it like right on top, like right, and I really framed it perfectly because I never saw that, and I still don't see that. 10, 15 years later.
Right.
Now there's more close-up magic on screens in showrooms, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I should be smart and try and get one of those gigs. But it's still kind of just the camera is kind of from a far away angle.
Yeah.
Or even when it's close up, it's still kind of at an angle. And I very much framed it. And there's some YouTubes I have out that are old, but it's very much like I wanted to create this little storybook world on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's me. So Obscura is me at a child's writing desk because I'm that small. And the camera's right on top, and above me is the screen being projected upon, and you see like I have these little music boxes, and I pull out a book from a box and flip through the pages to pull out the next set of cards, and the next. So each story is a story that's inside of the book, right? Everything again plays flat on the table. I use little parchment paper title cards that I will. I play music boxes as my sound design. That's a big thing for me. I almost have never used
like a soundtrack
music.
Yeah,
I never use music. It's always been music boxes or the tick-tock of a metronome. Because I want, and there's no pre-show or post-show music. Even though I love that stuff, I know how to make a good pre-show that's gonna like get people riled up. But I mean, those days are gone for me. If I'm gonna be spooky, then and I'm gonna use music, I want everything to be practical. If I can have a lamp that actually turned on set, I would have that, right? I want and more analog and practical. And just the sound of a music box with no amplification can be rather spooky, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I wouldn't use any pre-show music, because I wanted the first music you heard to be the music box opening up.
Right.
And so while the music box is playing, I'm holding up these little parchment paper title cards up into the camera, which, as I'm doing this up in the camera, if this is the screen, essentially seeing that coming at you, like, title of show, Obscura.
Yeah.
The next slide, basically. And I'm just moving to the next. I'm just moving one paper to the back, another paper to the back. But that's how I'm doing my little slideshow of titles.
Right. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so so I really want to create a little world on the screen, and I'm the narrator of that world. And it's like an anthology show, which is a genre in horror, right? Of the anthology story. And these stories would be about death and war and the devil and that. Kind of. The collection is what I did. So the big secret about Obscura is that I'm really the devil. This sweater, and then Mr. Rogers, and I'm actually taking someone's soul a night in a game of poker by the end. You don't know that, but that's what we're kind of slowly building to as I keep telling all these stories about people who lost their souls to the devil.
But what an interesting way to go about that. storytelling wise, I'm big into writing, so I finished my first 2 screenplays this year.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Which came from a short story that I wrote, which is horror based. And the detail in your show is very much like a screenplay. It reads like a screenplay, which is really interesting to me. Do you do that purposely, or it's literally just how your creative process works?
I mean, to me, it's, screenplay or theater. Like I'm trying to create a little world.
Yeah.
I occasionally confuse magicians when they ask me about when they ask me about what I do and how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, well, because they basically are asking me, well, is there a joke? Is there some irony? Do you take a step back and analyze it? I'm like, no, it's fucking magic. We're in a magic show.
Right.
This world is magic. I'm fucking magic.
Right.
You're fucking magic. We're all fucking magic
Right.
for an hour or two.
Right.
You can believe anything you want when you leave the theater.
Right.
But in that theater, by the end, my job is to try and get everyone to go, is that fucking magic? Right?
Is that real?
Is it real? And even an obscura, when I take the soul, nobody believes I take the soul.
Right.
But the very suggestion that you took that you soul is enough to make any atheist no longer an atheist and a foxhole. Right? That's my favorite thing. Because again, as the atheist, especially I'm coming up in the 90s and early aughts, and let's just face it, there was a certain ilk of atheist that just needed to go away. It's just like, you're not making the world a better place. You're just believing something else stronger. Right?
That's wild.
And again, speaking as an utter atheist who went to catechism and got Holy Communion and did all the things, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I was traumatized by Catholicism too, but simmer down now.
It's a lot of people's story. Right.
That's a digression. But I love.
Should we unpack that? It seems like there's a lot there. Should we unpack it? No, I'm joking.
Most of my complaint about magicians, but because there's a whole ilk that were really stuck on being good people and saying everything is just a trick.
Right.
And I get that. I totally get that. And I admit, I dance a very fine line with some of my shows.
Right.
I don't ever claim to be psychic. In fact, I still I say I do magic and mentalism. I prefer to call myself a magician.
Do some of the people ask you if it's real? Do they come to you afterwards, or?
On a rare occasion, someone has come up to me and said, how long have you known you can do this?
Really?
And I'll be like, sitting there thinking, I mean, I told a story. There was lighting. There was like, I feel like I built enough trappings to also tell you maybe it's not. Like, again, I'm trying to dance my own very fine line of like, is this fake or is this real? So it's my fault, right? As my friend Paul Draper says, we are, and I don't know if he's quoting Max Maven or not, but he says, we are priests for a religion we don't believe in.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't, again, like Witching Hour was the first time I went into the direction of a Ouija board. And even then I'm just like divining the name of somebody you wrote down, a dead celebrity. Right. I kept it pretty light. Right. Because I don't want to go there. I don't want to go where you can go with this stuff.
Right.
That's my way of making myself feel better about it. But that's, my thing. As Max Maven said, it's like you can't control how people are going to interpret it. And that's still your responsibility, your fault. And it's like, he's right. So yes, occasionally I go, I'm a bad man right now because this person really believes me.
But that's fun sometimes.
And I'll tell those people, like, here's the thing. When I know the person is a believer, when they're coming at me with that timbre and that like fascination, like I try and be like, well, it's still a magic show. And there's lots of trickery that I've learned over time. There's a little bit of psychology, a little of, but it's all, and I weave it together. Yeah. But how long have you known you could do this? Well, it's still a magic show. I try and dispel, but you can't control how people are going to take it.
Right.
And then on the occasion that I get like the atheist who's asking me, I go, what do you think?
Right. What's your feedback? Right.
Did it feel real? That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. No, that's really
do this. I was answering a whole other question, but I left that behind 10 minutes ago.
No, I have another question if you want to.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go that path.
Your creative process from Obscura, which is a little bit, it's close up, and then The Witching Hour, which is more theater. You consulted for a show, Fat Ham.
Witching Hour is more. That's what I was filling in.
Or
let me fill in this blank. After Obscura was the collection, which was my attempt at doing Obscura, but in the style of the other shows. In other words, I am the devil with all these antiques, but you don't know that yet. And like Christian Shellman, I'm involving all of you in my room full of. And by the end of that show, I'm definitely like taking someone's soul or trying to. It depends on what decision somebody makes. We can talk about that one later.
Right.
But that's what I was like trying to expand on that idea further. Now that I created that show in 2012, and then I burnt out. I was like, I've been making a show every year, every other year for like really 10 years at that point.
Wow.
And I was like, it's really hard. And I was done. And it's really hard to produce and co-produce on an independent theater level. So I kind of started doing fringe festivals with Obscura and Now and at the Hour because I could travel with those shows.
Right.
And then a few years later, I took over the Ghost Tour because I needed the money.
Yeah.
And so the Ghost Tour really took over my life. This is going to fill in some of the blank that you're probably about to ask. But the money from that I made from that helped to leverage me a life in New York City where I really wanted to be. But for family reasons, my mom passed. My dad has the mental health stuff. So I stayed here with my dad. I needed, it's just better.
Yeah.
But I was able to get away from.
Yeah.
I was able to teach my dad to be on his own for longer and longer.
Yeah.
My dad is one has to do.
You were in Speakeasy?
And that's where I got to eventually, I got to become friends with Todd Robbins over time. And I sort of became like a semi-regular fill-in, out-of-towner fill-in. And then when I moved there more regularly, I do rent a room in an apartment year-round there now.
Oh, wow.
That became cheaper than going back and forth all the time. And so that allowed me to kind of become, I became like a semi-regular fill-in at the show, like 1 to 3 times a week. And that's where I got to learn that. And that, learning how to be spooky in that situation is a whole other kettle of fish. And then that'll bring me, we can discuss Fat Ham in a moment. But then more recently it became, well, I wanted to do a show again here in San Francisco. How do I do that? The theater that I used to be with closed because they did not survive pandemic after 25, 30 years, right? And the hotel said, well, why don't you just do the show here? And the Ghost Tour in the Hotel Majestic. And they're like, just do a show here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it became like the nice high ticket priced close-up magic show in the banquet room of the hotel. And then I try and like dapper up some more with the bow tie and loafers because you're paying a lot of money for this show. And then at the end, I take everybody upstairs to the haunted hotel room and I give you the history of the hotel and the ghost. And then I start revealing the Ouija board and we do spooky magic and the doll is in the corner in her chair. But Witching Hour was definitely meant to be a commercial show. I still get to use some of my theater training and experience with the spooky magic when we're up in the hotel room. But that one's meant to be cards, coins, laughs, some mentalism. Then we'll do some of the stuff I do from Speakeasy Magic. And then we go upstairs and then we get into the serious stuff. That was very much meant to be like fun times.
Right.
Life is hard. Everything sucks right now.
Right.
Come on over.
Right.
We'll do some magic. Spooky out. We'll have drinks afterwards. Right. Good night. Anyway, so there's the brain dump on my oeuvre, you can say.
Yeah, and then when you consulted for Fat Ham, is your creative process different or no? Because that's also theater, but you were consulting on illusions. So,
well, I was for your listeners, Fat Ham was a Tony-nominated Broadway play. I got to work on it off Broadway and on Broadway, and then later on, the same production went off to California for a bit. It's essentially a comedy version of Hamlet with a black family in the South in a backyard. And the director and basically Hamlet, the ghost of Hamlet's dad shows up early on and says, hey, your uncle killed me and is now marrying your mom, avenge me, right? So the director of this production wanted ghost dad, to kind of appear and disappear. So the illusion designer for that show is Skylar Fox. He's a fantastic illusion designer. He's part of the Harry Potter team, the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child team. Yeah. He's their associate person.
Okay. So that'll be here in a few months. So I'll go see it.
Great. Yeah, you should absolutely see it.
Yeah.
I think probably Skylar will be part of the team Skylar typically, will it be on there for a little bit or for how long?
I'm in Atlanta, so it's touring through. So it'll be here and then it'll go.
Okay. So he probably won't be there. But usually if it sits down for a while in a city, like when it did in San Francisco or anything, Toronto for a bit, he goes out to, instead of the original magic team coming out, he flies out, he teaches all the actors and the crew the magic. and then assigns like magic captain to somebody, or they hire somebody else to be local.
Yeah.
He flies off to go work on the designs for other Broadway shows that he's personally working on.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So that's that context. He got hired to design illusions for, and kind of just magical moments for Fat Ham off Broadway in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't going to be there. And so he needed his own associate.
Mm.
And so he was asking around, and apparently like my name kept coming up. And I had actually interviewed with the Harry Potter team to be their associate in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But we both were like, no, it's not a good choice for me. Like I needed to get back to New York at the time, coming out of pandemic. But Skylar contacted me, and I'm all like, I'm totally down. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I'm there to support his design. The associate designer is there to support the lead designers, designs, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it means just kind of setting it and doing it. If you're a light designer or costume designer, that might be doing it for them, while I don't say the real designer, but the lead designer is off working many other shows, right?
Yeah.
So my job was to be there to teach the magic to the cast and the crew, and to aid them, and to support his designs and fight for them when they're, because it's theater, so things kind of get changed or cut, whatever. So I have to like kind of make sure I fight for them to try and keep them and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's just the normal ins and outs of theater. But yeah, so, and then I got to be his associate on Broadway, which is super cool to, technically my Broadway debut was as an associate, and I'm still down with that. I love that play. I love Fat Ham so much.
Yeah.
And then for LA, we did the same show at the Geffen Playhouse in LA, and then the Old Globe in San Diego. And I pretty much did, Skylar came out for a little bit of Geffen.
Yeah.
But pretty much like it was my job I knew the designs, I knew how everything worked. It was my job to teach everybody everything and teach the actors how to drop their butts through trap doors. And there was one day where I was talking to a friend on the phone. I think it was Joe, and you're like, oh, we were talking about stand-ups. He's like, oh, what'd you do today? I'm like, Joe, I got paid to spend an hour dropping my ass through a trap door.
Yeah.
And teaching an actor how to do that. Winning. I'm winning at life right now, Joe.
Right. Amazing.
And it's fun. And because I come from theater, I know how to, I don't think I'm the best designer. I can devise an idea and but I think to really be a really great designer of magic, it helps if you're a builder, and Skylar's very much a builder.
Yeah.
And I am a builder at all.
Yeah.
I don't know those little doohickeys, edges and the right screw and the right this and the right that. I don't understand. I know you should do this to make the illusion happen.
Yeah.
How you do it is up to you, right? But I understand magic obviously well enough, and I understand theater and actors well enough. So I think I'm very good at transposing the knowledge to the actors and the crew, right?
Yeah.
And I loved that. I wouldn't mind being an associate if I could have my own much more successful magic career, and then on the side be someone else's associate.
Yeah.
On and off Broadway, just like golden. I love that idea because I just love theater. I love helping to create theater. I love that I get to be a part of like making these like 5 or 6 tiny moments, big, but they're short in a play.
Yeah.
That I get to be a part of that now. And now people are doing this play all over the country, not with the magic, because I was very much that production. Some of them have implemented their own magic. Because that happens. You kind of, the way it gets done on Broadway is the way you want to do it everywhere else.
Right.
But, it's fun to get to like work on this play that I'm now seeing being done at all these other theater companies across the country and kind of go, oh, I get to be a part of that.
Yeah. It's a strange feeling. My uncle was a playwright, fairly known in New York City. I mean, he lived in New York City and would go back and forth between actually San Francisco, now that I think about it. So,
who's your uncle?
Michael Slade.
I think I know this name, and I'm pulling up my phone on your show. Okay, I will go look up.
You can type in Michael Slade, playwright, New York City. All his photos from red carpet will probably come up of him holding all his Emmy awards and stuff like that.
Dude, that's so cool.
So yeah, so he all the Emmys and all that stuff was like the last project he worked on before he had passed away. So that was kind of a very strange moment because being an artist and a playwright and working on all these incredible shows and had a show at Radio City at one point and all of this stuff, right? His whole thing was it's very strange for him to write a play and then it goes on some sort of tour.
Yeah.
And he had a play, I forget the name of it. Anyways, it's about Jews during the war, and it's a children's play.
Is
And
The Child Shall Lead?
yes.
Yeah.
And here in Georgia, like, I never would have thought it would have come through, but there is a small town 2 towns over from me that
Mm.
had their local theater production company do it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had contacted them. I missed all the shows, and I contacted them and said, "Hey, do you guys record the shows, or, like, do you," because it's my uncle's show.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes, "Wait, what's your last name?" And I said, "Slade. I'm Benjamin Slade. My uncle's Michael Slade." And they treated me like, "Oh my gosh,"
Yeah.
like, so it's very strange to kind of, there's people I run into who have seen or heard or worked with or things like that. And I actually grew up in a lot of the theaters in New York City. But he has a show on Amazon, Forever After, which is all his Emmy awards. I don't know if all his pictures came up of him on the
Oh,
red carpet and stuff
uh-huh.
like that.
Right, yeah.
So it's just strange because I talk to people in the LGBTQ plus community and they go, "I love that show. It speaks to me." And
Yeah.
it's about him and his partner and his trials and tribulations. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very strange to, yeah, have small pieces
That's
be
fantastic.
part of something, was my point, of
Right.
something that can go on and live its own sort of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
mean, I don't.
creative process is very similar. It's
Right.
interesting to see the theater background that you have. I have very vivid memories of sitting there watching him rehearse, Lyle Lyle Crocodile, which he did in New York City for the children's play,
Mm.
and rehearsing it. And now we're bringing in costumes, and everybody's going through full dress rehearsal and going through the script and crossing things out. Like, it was very lively and very,
Mm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the theater mind works the same way, which is
Mm.
really interesting. I don't have that mind. Mine doesn't work that way. But it's interesting that you have a theater background, and incorporating it in magic it's very theater heavy though, from
Mm-hmm.
my perspective.
Yeah.
Like, just the way you're creating your creative process for your shows is
Oh, yeah.
storytelling, which is theater. So
Yeah. And I mean, to me, a well executed piece of magic and well crafted one is still a piece of theater,
mhm.
even if it's just, shtick and jokes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, we've been to the lectures, we've studied people's work. There are some people who just got like every beat down and every
Right.
every moment and it's like, oh, this is like so beautifully crafted. And it's crafted by School of Hard Knocks.
Right.
Like it has to be crafted from doing it because you have to like interact with people and be ready for them. And
Right.
but they're also like crafting the whole experience of that effect
Right.
or that routine. Uh, so to me, magic is theater.
Mhm.
It cannot survive without it being theater. Like
Right.
I think most tricks that are just tricks and they die fast.
Right.
Like you might get a great reaction from somebody, but they're not going to remember it a year from now.
Correct.
Right? And I think the things that people remember the most are the ones that feel not about the souvenir, although that
Mhm.
helped, but that felt like an experience.
Mhm.
And if
Yeah.
the experience is nothing more than the coin coming out of their
Right.
ear, cool.
Right.
Like at some point, did you make this moment an experience? We remember experiences.
Mhm.
We are shocked by moments, but we can forget them.
Mhm.
Mm.
Did you spend time with Eugene?
Like hours, but I mean but a few hours, right?
Right. And I hear people who have sat with him even for a few hours, there's just so much for him to say and feedback that he gives it's deep and it's lasting for the people who have spent
Yeah,
time with him.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had like a lunch with him and a friend of theirs, Bryce, because the apartment he used to live in, there's like a nice little diner downstairs, so we'd like hang out there and go upstairs, and
Mhm. Where
he'd
was
show
he, in
you
New York, or was he in
Chicago,
Oh,
Chicago.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so yeah, and I didn't get to travel a lot until like later on in life.
Right.
I just like had to be attached to a show.
Right.
That's how I could sort of buy it and afford it.
Right.
But and I'll be honest, and this is not a great move on my part. I don't For your younger listeners, don't do what I'm about to say.
Now they're gonna
I
do it.
I avoided meeting my heroes because I wanted to be something first, right?
Interesting.
that was a poor choice. Also, I was just too scared to like. I'm like, who the fuck am I?
Right.
Only later on do I realize, oh, they probably would have loved if I contacted them. Right.
That's it. I'm doing it wrong. I'm shutting down the podcast.
And yeah, no, it's terrible. I mean, so like now there's like people I wish. Yeah, I reached out to Max a little bit, but not much. Like I didn't pursue that hard, right?
Right.
And because we all love and adore Max, I don't think it's beyond the pale for me to say he could also be known as a difficult personality.
That's what I gather. Yes.
And I heard tales and legends of this, and I'm all like, I don't want to deal with that, right?
Right. I could do without it.
Right. Now I regret that. Now I'm like, I wish I put up with it. He was always kind to me when he saw me. Like if I was at the castle, he seemed to like and respect me.
Yeah.
But we didn't like chit chat or anything. Like we didn't like. It was kind of like, how are you? Kind of, and then
like a respect.
Kind of
yeah.
So I was honored that he like was down to shake my hand, like, oh, Christian, and right. And I definitely wish that like I met him more.
Right.
When Harry was no longer famous, Harry Anderson, right? And he was just living in New Orleans, and later on I forget living where else. I wish I reached out. He might have been he might have also been a difficult personality. I don't know. But I'm like, now I wish I put up with it. Right?
Yeah.
Just to glean whatever I would glean from them, right? So I'm glad. I'm glad I got to talk to Eugene a bit. He came to see a couple of my shows. I would do them in Chicago. I did Now and at the Hour and Obscura in Chicago. And I know they're all like, he enjoyed them. I can tell they're not his bag.
Interesting.
But not in a bad way. Just kind of like, he dug it.
Yeah. You're doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could see, I think he appreciated that he could see his influence in what I was doing, because there's definitely a lot of Eugene in me as well.
Did you consume the books and the videos that he was putting out, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so yeah, but I kind of always did kind of keep a certain distance from my heroes. But I also think that kind of meant I met them on a different level. Because I, rightly or wrongly, tortured myself by figuring out how to do this thing on my own.
Yeah.
And or just with like my local friends.
Yeah.
Right? And later on, David and Joe. Right.
Yeah.
It was much more like an online Zoom relationship and phone relationship.
Yeah.
But it was very much me like creating devised theater by myself. And then showing a little bit to a director friend and getting a thought, or talking about it with a playwright friend and getting a thought.
Right.
I would talk about these things with different people of my life, and then like send it all into the fucking centrifuge in my head and be like, all right, let's see what spits out. Right. And that was hard. But also I was very delicate about like, I didn't want anybody's influence too much on my work. I didn't want a director yet on my work, because a director is still going to impose their view. And I didn't want that yet. I was still very delicately creating this thing. The fetus was still developing. Right. And then the baby was still having to be nursed. Right. That I did not want someone else saying that's not going to work. Right. Because I know magicians who did say, well, that wouldn't work. Right. Or that they didn't get it. Right. Or when they did see it, they still didn't get it, right? Or give me advice like make the doll move. I'm like, no, that's the wrong advice. It's not the advice I need.
And also missing the point.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was very protective of what I was creating. And so I did not reach out to my heroes a lot.
Yeah.
And now because of that, sorry, say again?
No, I was going to say, no, I think that's really important to not have to reach out to your heroes. I didn't start reaching out to people, not for the podcast, but separately, until probably the pandemic hit, where I was like, you know what? People are accessible. I'm going to start reaching out to really whoever, I'm very bold with that. Like, I'm just going to reach out to people. And if what's the worst? They're going to say no. So it's whatever.
Right.
And then meeting them in person, I've had some great stories, and I've had some, man, I shouldn't have met that person, I'd rather have just read their career and their books and kept it at that and never met them, sort of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it is important there's a magician who I'm not going to name, but is currently sick, and I don't know that will turn around. And I reached out to them for the first time, and I wrote them. I love their books. I love their work, whatever's out there, and just sent them a long email, and I got a very kind response back and slow correspondence here and there. Yeah. Take the opportunity to just take a moment out of your day to like reach out to like I said, the worst could be no, and they don't
Mhm.
respond, and that's
Mhm.
happened as well. But I think it's important not to have that influence of other magicians, which is why I love magic books, but I also hate that there's magic literature and videos and that sort of thing, because the magic within you can be created, but we don't have the tools or the techniques or the skills necessarily to find those
Mhm.
solutions. So you're watching Daryl do a whole masterclass on sponge balls, and now when you perform, some magicians haven't made the curve of making it their own. So they're performing the way Daryl performs, and it's like,
Mhm.
that's not, there's more to this.
Yeah.
There's layers to it. That's interesting. I would prefer not to meet a magician. And I talk about it on another episode where I'm just with John Wilson, where it took him a long time to even talk to another magician because he didn't
Mm.
want that influence on his own magic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a balancing act.
Mhm.
I mean, like, I very much, like, sieved who I allowed in,
Mhm.
magic. I would gather John as well,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, I at some point when I felt more comfortable with my vibe and what I was doing and my aesthetic
Mhm.
and what I was crafting, I wish I had reached out more. And Christian Shellman, actually, I reached out to him a bit more
Mhm.
at that time because he was somebody I was allowing through the sieve,
Mhm.
right? And he was very generous with ideas and information and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually I got to go visit him and stayed in his home for a couple nights and
Awesome.
showed me around and showed me the antique markets he would go to
Which is
and
awesome.
and and the language barrier. So it wasn't a lot like, but I mean, just getting to be there was
Yeah.
and to experience him doing his thing
Yeah.
made me go, I get to, let me tell you this one part. I love telling this one. What was the one part? So
How are
the
you on
attic,
time? Are you good or
there's still enough battery life.
okay? We're going another 3 hours.
No one's listening to me talk for 3 hours. But his attic is the divination department,
Mhm.
and that's where he has divination systems from around the world.
Mhm.
Um, and each one has a little, not, I don't know if it's each one, but many of them have magic hidden inside of them, right?
Mhm.
And so before he takes you on the tour, he apparently is a quite a bit of an expert in voodoo or vodou, right?
Mhm.
And he has his altar, and he has all the items, and he has all the accoutrements, right?
Does he believe in it though?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Interesting.
But I believe you can practice something and not believe in it. I think it's just,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think spirituality has to involve the spiritual.
Mm.
Uh,
But that's no fun. No, I'm joking.
but I know, but I mean,
Sounds
I
no
think
fun.
it's more of a psychic thing and not a psychic thing, but
Right.
a mental thing,
Mhm.
personal.
Mhm.
Those were words I said. I don't know if that made sense. Um, but and it can be very dicey
Mhm.
when we're messing with other people's cultures like that, which is why I tend to like stay away from that.
Mhm.
But here's a guy who at least tries to do the work and like
Right.
learn everything he is
Mhm.
doing. And it's also Brussels. It's a different, there's just a whole other history going on there,
Right.
right? So anyway, so he says, well, we have to make an offering. Oh God, I'm forgetting the word. Is it, why am I spacing on the word? To the Loa.
Mhm.
I hope that's the word. But we have to make an offering to the spirits
Right.
to see if they will allow us to take this tour today. So he walks up and he's got, look, I'm going to describe it to you as I experienced it. You as a magician and anybody listening as a magician will probably be able to fill in the blank on how this is being done.
Right.
But he takes a beautiful little jug. No, I'm sorry. He takes a shot glass of rum and pours it into a beautiful little jug. Offering number one. Then he has his bowl of Indian head nickels, American Indian head nickels that he's had, bowl of them. And he starts picking them up one at a time and dropping them into from his right hand to his left hand. And you can hear the coins go clink, 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 doing this motion,
And that motion's very familiar.
right? And you hear the clink, clink,
Mhm.
clink, clink. And then he picks up this little trident. This hand is empty now.
Mm.
Trident,
Right.
and
Mhm.
and then he just goes like, "Pah." He just touches the trident to his fist, slowly opens up his fingers, and all the nickels are gone. And then he picks up the jug and pours the jug into the shot glass, and it's but one drop of rum. The rest of the rum is gone.
Wow.
They took the money offering. They took the rum offering. And I know exactly what he's doing. I know exactly what he's doing, right?
I know what he's doing.
And again, he would say I walked through the looking glass, but in my brain, it was just,
Yeah.
And I was like, where am I?
Right.
And I'm now in a world of magic.
Right.
It was like, it was just the world and the commitment to this magical world is created. And no irony,
Right.
not a joke. It's not a joke that's meant to kill the magic. It's meant
Right.
to ask for forgiveness for being a magician,
Right.
or for because you're uncomfortable with the magic thing, so you try and undercut it. It's just fucking magic happened.
Right.
Something otherworldly happened.
And he's
right?
invested in that.
Completely.
Interesting.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
right? And he's not, and by invested, I don't mean woo,
No.
right? Whatever that means, but just kind of like he
In the
takes
space.
seriously, right?
Yeah.
Not solemnly, but seriously, right? And again, and the space is full of all these cool artifacts from around the world, right? So just like the world has been created, the vibe has been created, this altar has been created, and he says, okay, the spirits will allow us to tour you through the house now. And he's just showing me around the house.
Right.
Right. And so just like one of the most magical moments I ever experienced was that.
Interesting.
And even though, especially because of the language barrier at the time, it was harder for me to like ask certain questions and glean more, right? But just being around him, getting to experience what I've read in Hauntiques, the vibe I've felt in Hauntiques, but get to actually experience it. Because let's face it, especially for bizarre magic, we don't get to see much of it. There isn't a lot of it tested on the boards, so to speak. So whereas everyone can learn a good Professor's Nightmare because that trick has been trotted on the boards, that everybody's learned all those tips and tricks and moments, right? Bizarre magic, not so much. So it's harder than for me as the student of it, of spooky magic, of bizarre magic, to really understand it, to like get it intrinsically in my body, like a little boy trying to copy his heroes because he's watched the videos 1,000 times, right? I can't do that with spooky and bizarre. I really have to just infer it from the book and then go, all right, I think it works this way, and then try and recreate it myself. But now I had this one moment where even though I couldn't, asking for advice in the same way wasn't going to work out, but I got to experience him doing this one moment that made me go, okay, I get it now. That's how do I get others to go down that rabbit hole? How do I get them to walk through the looking glass with me? How do I take them to that, right?
Yeah.
Which was invaluable. It was well worth the thousands of dollars I had to pay to travel to Brussels to see him, right?
Yeah.
From California.
Yeah. When you're in that space, is there also things that you have seen or have never seen or have seen before, and you go, well, that's interesting, that's inspiring, that's being done that way, or using a technique or skill in this thing that he's showing me and saying, that's different, because it's not a magician. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like a magician. He's doing it with bizarre items. He's doing it with haunted items. And you're saying, that's an interesting way to use X, Y, and Z. Or,
I mean, it really, what it showed me was that I can take the stuff I learned in Bobos and just frame it right.
Yeah.
And through the looking glass, we all go.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of, look, I think magic on the internet has actually been a fantastic thing because it has introduced magic to many young brains that would not have had as much access to it before. And then they started making stuff that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And mentalism was once upon a time was very guarded 100 years ago, right? And now, and there's organizations just for mentalists that can be rather protective, and I'm a part of one of them now. But now it's like, for better or for worse, you don't need those organizations in the same way.
Yeah.
Because everybody is exposed to it now, and they're making up their own magic effects and their own mentalism effects that are really, really good, right? There's still something to be said for fraternity and community, obviously. Just goes back to me wishing, part of me joining one particular organization is about like me just like, let me go meet some heroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm almost 50 and I have not met enough heroes, right? I'm like, I don't know how much longer I got, like, because we don't live forever, and usually the last 5 or 10 years are not that great.
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta I got to do the thing I should have been doing 20 years ago now. So I think all of that is wonderful. And there's always a new idea and a new idea and a new idea. And some of them are amazing, right? 75% of the time, when I see the brand new improvement on some other effect or on somebody's effect from 20, 30 years ago or some classic, I kind of go, that's not better.
Right.
You were just too scared to do it the other way.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm scared to do lots of tricks and I don't do them. Right. But there's such an attempt at making it more real. Let's face it, magicians want to be magicians. So they want to buy something with no strings, no wires, no magnets, no skill, no this, no that, right?
Yeah.
It's not a force. It's not a this. It's, not a that. It's like, oh my God, it's okay to just do a trick.
Right.
Gimmicks are fine. What we do is not real to begin with.
Right.
So if you enhance it with a gimmick, cool.
Yeah.
Just the gimmick out and keep working with your deck later on, right?
Well, you said enhance, which I think is huge difference between the rest.
Right. I mean, I think it's cool to be able to do things without gimmickry, especially if your audience is just your friends.
Right.
Because then you want to because it's true, your friends don't take you as seriously as even a stranger with disdain at a cocktail party will have, right? There'll still be some boundary where they're not going to touch you. Your friends are going to be like, let me see that, right? But yes, you gotta do some ungimmick stuff.
There's a flap. I know.
Exactly. So, I couldn't get away with my book test for friends at a party, but I can get away with it in a professional situation, right? Where I have some audience control.
Yes.
You don't have audience control over your friends who've known you for 20 years, who know you ain't
They're going to
magic.
call you on your shit.
Totally, right? So in that regard, I get it. And that's where a lot of magic is geared. A lot of magic that's been developed and sold is geared to that audience, to that clientele that need that, right? But most of the time I'm all like, just do it the old way. Just do it right.
Yeah.
Just frame it right and do it right and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's not a bad trick. It wasn't a bad trick. It wasn't this. With mentalism, my favorite thing to say is, stop being such a mentalist and just read the fucking mind. Oh, I'm sorry. Stop being such a fucking mentalist and just read the fucking mind. Because, in this attempt to be more and more, have more veracity, here's 5 envelopes and here's a this and here's a that. And I'm like, I can't, I have all these mentalism books, and I'm like, I can't do most of it because mine is a little magical world where the process is the theater. It's an antique and it's a story where I can't have 5 envelopes and a switching tray. It's
100%.
If there's that much, just read my mind.
Right.
At most, I write it down, you read my mind. At most, we pick the word in the book, you read my mind, right?
Yeah.
Pocket writing. Oh no, I said it out loud. Right? Just what are the most direct ways? And for me, the standards, the things you learn in the first couple chapters of Bannerman or Corinda, it's
right.
That's taught me, watching Shellman taught me, oh yeah, that's where it's at. Just frame this right in the right conditions, and you've opened up people's minds to an utter world of magic. And the way that proving you didn't do XYZ won't do. Might get you an amazing look on someone's face for a camera.
Right.
And if that's what you're trying to get, great. I mean, kudos for you.
Yeah.
But it's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, but if you even look at, for context, the movie Nightmare Alley, and you're looking at the mind reading act there, like you said, just fucking read their mind, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's not in this envelope, and there's no additional steps. It's give me the gun, I'm holding it in my hand, it belonged to your dad. And people are like, what the fuck's going on? And they're freaking out. So
and obviously mentalism tricks, the effects require some process to get there. And that's fine.
That's different.
If you got to fudge that stuff, if you got to write it down on this piece of paper, okay, fine. But construct it in such a way where we can kind of we kind of forget that. Don't belabor it.
Yeah. And even that, the old man in the movie, it was hard for him to give the younger guy the secrets, which was in this book of, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it all makes sense. I think it's a quality thing as well, right? I've seen bad mentalism. As crazy as that sounds, I've seen some really bad mentalism where I'm like, again, nobody's buying this. Like, looking around the room, like, you're not buying that, right? Like, and not because I'm a magician, just because I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
I think it's something that most mentalists miss while they're trying to like have a better billet peak or a great switch. Excuse me, I keep belching. I get so worked up. I'm belching on your show. I'm sorry. I'm glad I'm not like wearing a body mic. Is the faucess, the Darren Brown faucess, right? The what is the process that the magic is happening under? What is the magic wand? Mentalism still needs a magic wand, to my way of thinking. And it's not something that you actually hold, although it could be. But it is like, where is the magic happening at? And because typically we go through a long process to get people to write things down and think about them. And then somebody in their street clothes from the audience is seated awkwardly on stage. And you say, okay, now Ben, now just think about the color. And you're just kind of sitting there like this, awkward, like you're not invested.
Right.
And I'm supposed to believe that you read my mind, or like you're reading this person's mind. It just feels awkward. It is never that entertaining. There's no transference of magic. There's no transference of their thought to the performer's mind.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me to like hang a lantern on.
Right.
So like, I'm really big on like, I have a process. It is not a faucess like Darren Brown. I'm not having Darren has his faux psychological process.
Right.
And which is gold. I've always loved that stuff. I needed to have my own faucess.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, quite often if I'm doing mentalism with a book test or billet, it's like I am standing profile to the audience with them, and I make them stand straight, plant their feet, hands at their sides, take a deep breath out their mouth. And if they ever start like kind of like adjusting themselves, I'm like, no,
stop adjusting.
And I mean, I'm polite but direct about it. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm all like, look at me right here. And I imagine that I'm a movie screen. You're a projector. This is all my scripting. Nobody steal my scripting. But I mean,
a lot of people have that scripting. A lot of people have that.
It's true. But nobody really. So I say that inside your head is a whole lot of film, not digital film, individual little pictures. And on every picture is this word that you're thinking of. Your eyes are the lens of this old-timey movie projector, and I am your screen. Just pretend you can project that word right across my face. Ready? Go. And mind you, profile, and I don't know if you...
Yeah.
For listeners, they're not going to get this, but I mean, profile, I'm doing... If the person's right over there, I'm like this. And it gets a little laugh because I'm making the fun, right? But I'm like, and now I'm engaged. I am staring at... My eyeballs are like drilling into their eyeballs, trying to like see something. And then I'm like over here, like trying to think it out. Pick up the pad, pick up the marker. Right. What is the word? Boom, turn it over, right? It's short. It's like less than 30 seconds.
But it's impactful.
Right? And as people get a little awkward and they kind of start adjusting themselves, or kind of starting to put one hand over here, or they want to put one hand in their pocket, I say, no, hands at your sides, hands at your sides. Thank you. Okay. I'm making them invest physically in the moment, so that way there is something for everyone else to watch.
Right.
Otherwise, if you're just kind of like, no mind reading is nothing magical is happening with somebody in this position, right? And I think that's what most mentalists do. And when people and the worst ones, they just like really, they just sort of think if they say the right thing, magic has happened. And it's like, I may not know how you knew the color blue, but I don't care.
Yeah, I love mentalism. I don't do it, but I love reading it, and I think it's interesting. There is a medium who has his own Netflix show, and for a while, watching him on other networks, I would watch him and go, how the fuck is he doing it, right? I'm fully aware of all the techniques. I'm fully aware of how we can pull information. I'm fully aware of all that stuff, right? But on his new show, I watch him, and he's saying things that magicians say to try to pull information to do some mentalism. I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and for someone who's very open-minded, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's real, but I'm also not going to sit here and say it's not real, right? I watched him, and he goes, he's saying phrases that magicians use, like, just go ahead and hold it in your hand, and no, not that hand, let's move it to the other hand. And I'm just sitting there like, hmm. Okay, so crayon behind the back. No, not that hand. Move it to the other hand. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
phrasing that he's using that's very like magician-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's all bullshit. I just realized it's all bullshit. I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's all bullshit. Like but
Mm-hmm.
also it's really interesting to see how he's pulling information that is deeply personal information.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that's not pre-show, that's not post-show, that's not
Yeah.
sending emails out or sending your team out to get that information. I don't know how he knows that information. That's not a Google search. Knowing that your uncle like molested 3 girls when, and the family didn't know about it. Like, how does he know that? That's not. Do you have answers? Come on.
And
That's why you're here. Come on.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not there to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not there to experience all the pre-show and the post-show. But these people do have these people don't work alone quite often.
No.
So there's and I can guess maybe that they did talk about stuff in line and somebody was listening in, right?
Interesting.
I mean, they're quite often these, and I don't know how this person works.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say this is how they work, so they don't sue me. But yeah, I mean, it's everything from a little bit, and there might be a little bit of pre-show.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit of people listening in the lobby. There might be going over the audience.
Yeah.
The credit card list, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the job. Like you can't, like if you got to get shit right, then and then researching until you find something, right? So it's never one thing. It's half a dozen things. And then, I mean, I do think there is something to be said for just getting good at that. Like I should have
like really good at it.
I should have learned quote unquote cold reading, right? I kind of always stayed away from it because again, it became my own ethical choice, right?
Yeah.
I did not want the power nor the great responsibility.
Yeah.
But I should still learn it. I could enhance moments in the show better, right? But I know people who are utter atheist mentalists who are just like, they know they've done it long enough. They know people well enough. They have seen the reactions over time of just School of Hard Knocks that they can go for a wild thing like the molestation you just said.
Right.
And they're going to be right.
Right.
But I think that does, I mean, I do think part of intuition is just we all have an intuition for something.
Right.
You have an intuition for how your mom is going to think. You have an intuition what your friend just thought. Like,
right.
But it's a familiarity that you have. And I think, especially if you're in a not, I don't know what the word is, not monolithic, in a monoculture of some sort, where people are, kind of the same, or we all like to think we're all unique snowflakes, and we're not.
Right.
Like you can get those things right. And then if you just have experience with multiple cultures, you can get lots more things right.
Right.
So I do think part of intuition is intuition.
Yeah.
But again, it comes from some level of knowledge and experience.
Have you ever gone to a medium just for shits and gigs, like just to?
Oh, I don't know if it happens anymore, but so Golden Gate Park. So the magic shop here is Misdirection's Magic Shop on 9th and 9th between Lincoln and Irving. Lincoln is then the street that runs parallel to Golden Gate Park. So just inside there is like an old-timey fair building, which is just a building, right? But they will have like, that's always where they have like the antique fair, the antique paper fair. And for a longest time, every year, the psychic fair.
Really?
Favoriteest thing was to go to the magic shop, go get some like ravioli up the street at my favorite Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And then like stroll down to the psychic fair.
And these are people who believe that
these are utter shut-eyes. I mean, at least I get the impression they're all shut-eyes.
Okay.
And for your listeners, shut-eyes is what is what the mentalists call the psychics who believe they're psychic. So there's obviously a point of view when you say a shut-eye, right?
Uri Geller. I'm joking.
Yeah. I mean, it's so one could say it's dismissive to call a shut-eye.
Right.
So if you are psychic, I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. But yeah, it's like, they have their booths, maybe they're selling the tarot cards and the crystals and whatnot, and maybe some books. There's the part there's a part where like there'd be like 10-ish folding chair, like a little sectioned off area where you got in line, and they'd be like different psychics and different chairs. And you kind of just go in line, and they kind of like send you to the next available psychic, and you sit across from them. And sometimes they're just sitting there, like eyes closed, breathing, and just kind of like doing this, right? And they're
into it.
They're into it, and I believe they believe what they're doing. There is energy that they're putting forth to try and just like vibe the person that they may not even be able to see because they got their eyes closed, because that's their approach they're choosing, and they're trying to read me, you know. And sometimes they were right, and sometimes they were wrong,
right.
But I enjoyed the experience of it. I still love those. I love metaphysical shops. I love metaphysical books. I don't read them. They're impossible to read.
That's why. It's the whole point. They know that. How do you think they make their money? Buy the sequel is the last page, and then you buy the sequel, and you're like, I don't know what this one fucking says either. Buy the third book, and you buy the third book.
I have a wait. Where did I put them? This house is going through some some redecorating, and I found they're not here. I can't find them. Oh, but I just hold on. Realized I had this lying around.
That's an awesome chair, by the way.
Thanks.
Cashing in. Okay, I'm here for it. So are the listeners.
And I mean, yes, it's. I mean, that kind of says it all, right?
Right. I mean, as a magician, do you read that and look at it and go like, this is, or do you look at it and go, as a magician, it's another like Ed Marlowe pamphlet that has actual tricks in it?
Oh, is that's what you meant?
Yeah.
I never say it's ridiculous.
Very respectful.
No. No, I've just kind of come to accept it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not changing anybody's minds. Like, I think part of the very well-intended atheist skeptic movement, I shouldn't say atheist, skeptic movement, was to, try and make the world a better place. And not let people get conned, and not let people believe in things that a certain group believe are not true.
Right.
And I agree. I don't think they're true either.
Yeah.
But these ideas have been around for millennia. I think they're kind of maybe even a part of our own human mammalian brain. It's how we made sense of the world. It's how the people who came before us made sense of the world.
Right.
And they survived long enough to make us, right? I thought a few thousand years later. So like, I like it or hate it, it's just a part of humanity.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna do another digression.
Okay.
So I gave a talk. I essentially was asked to kind of give a talk on the history of magic. I'm like, what? And so I did History of Magic Abridged. And so I was doing my own research, but I really wanted to go back, right? And we have this idea that people in ancient times are stupid. Excuse me.
Interesting.
Right? I mean, like, because they believed in gods and goddesses and temples and things, right? Because as magicians, we've seen the illustrations of you light the pyre over here in this bowl, and that creates some chemical thing that makes the doors open over here, right?
Love it.
Or if you've ever been to the Met, I'm sure you've probably been to the Met, the Met Museum in New York. No, one of my favorite museums in the entire country, and because they have everything from the art to the ancient artifacts, right? And they kind of recreate this one aspect of, I think, of an Egyptian temple where you go to speak to a god or some deity of some sort. I hope I'm getting this right. And it kind of like you're walking through these little tight corridors of like brick of granite of some sort. And you get to like just peek through a tiny sliver in this tiny wall, this big wall, and a tiny sliver where you can peek through to see the statue of this deity. And that's how you get to communicate with this deity. Right?
Right.
And so because of things like that and belief systems of ancient times, we think, well, that was back then. People were not very smart back then.
Right.
Right. But they also made pyramids and colosseums.
Right.
And aqueducts.
Right.
So they're not dumb.
No.
Right. They're not, ancient villagers that believe in some superstition. And even then I feel stupid. I feel terrible saying it that way because that's dismissed. But you know what I'm saying? And so what I learned from that talk was within the span of 100 years, Cleopatra takes that snake to the neck.
Yeah.
Within a few decades of that, Jesus is born. If I recall correctly, Seneca. And I think before them, Hero of Alexandria. Okay, we all know who Jesus is, right? Seneca, philosopher, right? I believe it was Seneca who has this famous batch of letters that he wrote back and forth to a philosopher friend.
Right.
If I were a better intellectual, I would know who these people were. If I were Max, I'd be like, yes, so and so and so and so. But I'm not that smart. Okay, bookmark that for a moment. And then there's also Hero of Alexandria. He was a scientist. He was a Grecian scientist in Alexandria, Egypt, when Greece owned everything, right? And he wrote a book of science water tricks. He basically compiled a bunch of science water tricks, right? And in it, a lot of it is a stone or wood stone carving, granite, and things like or bronze or whatnot. And it'd be like this little Tweety bird on a box, and you pour water into the back of the box, and the air pressure of the water moving the air inside the box would make the little Tweety bird whistle.
Interesting.
Like fun things like that, right? And among them, two different versions of, I guess now one of these things we would call like the I think it's called like the assassin's teapot, that some magicians have used to other effect,
right?
And a whole system inside of this, not a teapot, but a chalice of some sort, where you would contain two different kinds of liquid, right? You can pour one in and another one comes out,
right?
And then the slide that I used was this one stone box with two chalices on top of it, and piping that went basically like if you went down into the stem of the chalice, it would go down the box, piping, and then pops up into the other chalice, right? So the chalices could not be removed; they were stuck
right.
But there'd be wine inside the piping that was inside the box. So as you took water and you poured it into one chalice on the right, it pushed the wine, which I'm guessing back then by that point is very vinegary. I don't know.
Right.
And it would push the red wine up into the other chalice on the left. Sound familiar? And this is written decades before Jesus and Seneca are born.
Right.
Right? But this book was like retranslated across the Mediterranean.
Right.
For like a century or two. You know, forests aren't really woodworking was not as much of a thing in the Middle East. It'd be stoneworking, right? So Jesus may have been more of a stoneworker than a carpenter.
Right.
But it's like...
But that's interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, he saw this and got credit for it. Or maybe he made one. Right?
So Jesus is David Blaine. Got it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. 100%.
And maybe he wasn't even trying to fool anybody.
Right.
Maybe just said, hey guys, look, isn't this really cool?
I love that.
Also, and now, okay, so Hero of Alexandria is decades before Seneca and Jesus, but Jesus and Seneca were born a few years apart. And in the letters back and forth to the friend of his, there's this one moment where he says, it's like those guys outside the Colosseum with the bowls and the pebbles. I think it's amazing, but the moment you tell me how it works, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? So, like, there's a world of gods and temples that we worship, with a world of utter science that could make amazing structures and could do science water tricks, turning water into wine. Around the time that, and look, there were a number of messiahs that were born back then, just only one of them became the big one. And there was a number of people who said the end of the world was coming a few times back then. And mind you, the end of the world still has not happened.
Right.
Even though it feels like it's going to happen any time now. And then you have Seneca pointing out that there's people doing cups and balls, doing shell game and cups and balls in the Colosseum. So there has always been a time where you had gods, spirituality, science, magic tricks on the street, all spinning together and swirling in the same world.
Yeah.
And a world of politics and emperors and right. So I think that's why I kind of go, I don't roll my eyes at the astrology book. Now, look, I've dated some women and they believe in it. And there's a part of me that when it's that intimately close to me, I do kind of grit my teeth, right? I'm like,
yeah,
right. Like the angry skeptic comes out of me and I have to get him like, pull back the fangs, right? But the world we live in now is just the more technologically advanced version of what existed 2,000 years ago. Right? We joke about stupid inventions from the 1800s.
Right.
Well, we can probably point out some stupid inventions right now, right?
100%.
Shammy things that are sold now that we joke about. Right. But we think, oh, well, that's stupid. Well, we think it's really stupid when they did it in the 17 or 1800s.
Right.
It's like, nothing's different. Nothing's different. In the 1800s, people were trying to talk to ghosts. Edison was trying to talk to ghosts while being a scientist.
Right.
Right. There were people who were debunking the Davenport brothers while the Davenport brothers were doing the Davenport brothers. Right. While people were believing the Fox sisters. Right. This world always existed. Yeah. There was always the believers and the non-believers.
Yeah. Nikola Tesla, huge rabbit hole on Nikola Tesla and everything he was doing. And people thought it was magic, and it was not magic.
Right. And then he was kept on making clones of himself. And no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but I mean, if you look at the real, it was a rabbit hole for me. But if you look at the real paperwork, which again, who knows if it's actually the real paperwork of what he was trying to do, was bigger than Edison. And he was trying to do like a time travel situation, which is crazy. Really crazy.
Yeah.
And I think he was, the whole thing is just, but again, going to the point of, we think that the generations before us were not as advanced as we are today is ridiculous.
Like we are not that advanced. Let me, I keep forgetting this. Hold on. Because there's the line that magicians love to quote from Arthur C. Clarke. But I'm going to bring it up. And it's the, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Do you know that line?
No, but it's great. It's good.
So let me, I'm pulling up the wiki because that's where all knowledge is stored.
That and ChatGPT.
Exactly. So now he did not publish these laws together. They're just that he said that people have put together as the Clarke's 3 laws. When a distinguished but elderly scientist states that something is possible, he is almost certainly right. When he states that something is impossible, he is very probably wrong. Number 3 is the classic that every magician loves to freaking quote all the time. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. As a way of saying, if you don't know how it works, doesn't mean it's not
right.
That there isn't a way, or that it also is, it always has that vibe of like ancient village people are stupid.
Right.
Isn't that so quaint? They didn't know things like that. But here's the thing. He was a sci-fi writer who was kind of woo-woo. I mean, and lots of sci-fi is lots of sci-fi is utterly woo-woo.
Yeah.
Right? First season of Star Trek, woo-woo, right?
All the way through the galaxy.
All the woo, all through time, space, and time. But so law number 2, my personal favorite Arthur C. Clarke quote: "The only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible." And I love that one because that one is like we all quote number 3, but we're magicians. We should be working off number 2.
Right.
But we don't. We like to like trumpet number 3 because we think it makes it sound smart.
Right. 100%.
So it's like I just accept that the woo is there. It'd be really great if it turned out to be true. I'd believe it to be true. But people also have their experiences that I trust are intelligent human beings who have brains, and I'm like, well, they have that happen, and I can't say they're wrong. I was not there. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
So maybe I will have an experience myself outside of my own ghost tour one day too.
It would be so interesting to hear you like 5 years from now, and something weird happened, and you're like, you know what? I had to stop doing the spooky magic for a bit.
I'm now wearing a robe.
Right.
I'm channeling my energy to you over
the doll really is haunted all these years.
I've learned my ways, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've now learned the ways. I'm not just going to do sponge bunnies and sign card effects for the rest of my life.
No, I think it's also really interesting to hear the perspective of real spooky. Not that kind of diminishes what you do. I'm so sorry, but haunted, the Warrens, occult museum,
Mm-mm.
And people going there and feeling the heavy energy,
Mm-hmm.
I think is that's paranormal. That's a whole different sector. So it's always interesting to hear, people who do bizarre magic and spooky magic, what they really think about that stuff. Cause that's that's haunted. That dives into a lot of stuff.
I mean, and this is where, your personal experience and belief and mine like butt up against each other.
Yeah.
I've not been to the Baggins Museum. I'd like to go.
Or is it just a haunted house? Glorified.
I mean,
right.
it's to the eye of the beholder, I guess, right? But I totally believe that there's a heavy feeling in there. Now, I think half of it is who's going believers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already ready for the heavy feeling.
Right.
They've looked at Instagram,
Right.
right? They're ready to feel that every object is utterly cursed.
Right.
But, and again, I've not been there. I don't really know what's there, but it sounds like my dream set to a certain degree.
Right.
I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, again, it's the items. I'm going to guess there's a bunch of old items. Maybe a few are fake distressed, but the rest are probably just genuinely that old.
right.
And either A, they were chosen to be in that museum because they got a nice vibe to them, or B, they actually have this history to them.
Right.
Like a doll that's been around 100 years, right? You could feel the history in the fabric of the doll's dress. The crack that's happening down here is fixed, right? That each item, each house has its history that is literally seeping in the walls until you do a full renovation.
Right.
And so I think there is something to feel there. It's the reason why I don't like to use distressed props.
Right.
I love the old prop the way it is because you can tell that there's a story there that you will never know. Right. And yeah, if you pack a whole place with thousands and thousands of items like that in a tight location and just walk among it, you're going to feel a lot of history vibing at you.
Right.
It's a lot of different items that have history that you will never know, regardless of whether or not they're paranormal or cursed or not.
Right.
And if they're all deliberately chosen in the spooky vein, like I'm sure there's a billion and one creepy eyes.
Right.
Then yeah, you're gonna feel a certain way about it. So to me, it's the same thing as what I do.
Yeah.
That's not to say that they aren't cursed and haunted on their own, but I don't think I think half of that is just again the vibe of the object,
100%.
and you cram them all in there, and it's gonna feel heavy because it sounds like a hoarder house.
100%.
Right? It's just organized.
There's a lot going on in here. Yeah.
And you walk into a hoarder house, and that's disturbing too, right?
That's a different kind of terror.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the walls have not been cleaned.
100%.
And you can feel that, right? This carpet has not been cleaned. You can feel that. Right. These items have been sitting in that giant pile for 20 years. You can feel that. You can see the dinge on the plastic Walgreens bag on the dust still.
Very detailed. I envisioned that very like the bag is stiff and there's dust on it, and that was great. That'd be great if I just cut this and cut to us being at the Baggins Museum. All right, we decided to go. Really feel it out. We're here live at the Baggins Museum on the podcast.
Yeah. We should do that.
That would be great.
Sometime later this year, maybe, we should be like, let's go to Vegas.
Yeah, part 2 of this episode is us at the Baggins Museum with hidden mics talking shit about the entire museum.
Believer and skeptic going through, and
well, let me clarify. I don't believe that those items are haunted. In the museum, but I do believe.
But you had experiences. You just don't believe that those experiences are there in that place.
No.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think there's something that we don't see.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's ghosts. I don't know that it's spirits, souls. I don't know what it is. But I do believe there's something that we don't see. And it could be like some weird interstellar shit where it's like timelines or I don't know. I'm not saying I believe in that either. I'm just saying I don't know what it is.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, one of my experiences is very vividly being in my childhood home. Nobody's home except me and my Polish nanny at the time. Come for me later about that. And
this is such an East Coast experience that you got adopted into such an East Coast world.
Yeah, I know.
As a Californian who's always loved New York, the mythos of the East Coast, I'm like, I love everything you're saying. Who adopted you? You're
You're
Polish
here for it. You're here for
Oh
it.
my God. The uncle playwright, the gay uncle playwright
this episode's really about me.
Oh my God. Love it. I'm loving everything.
Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, she's downstairs in the kitchen. I'm in my room, probably doing magic or something, and going to my father's room, which was across the hall. And before even hitting the door just slamming in my face and being like, my sister's in there, or the nanny's in there, and leaning over the balcony inside the house, calling down to my nanny, and she comes walking out underneath it. And I'm now like, what? So, and then opening the door and realizing there's nobody in the fucking room. It's not the AC. There's no vent by the door. Like, as a magician, I knew, like, skeptical as fuck, right? Like, going around, like,
yeah,
it's not when you walk in the room, the door frame's uneasy, so it like swings a little bit, and the AC kicked on and then it slammed it shut, right? Like, I'm looking for all of these things. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I mean, it's like a skeptical going to see Copperfield do his flying shit and being like, no, there's wires. I was going to do a divert and there's wires up there. But yeah, I was very much skeptical. Still skeptical, but it definitely happened.
Yeah.
Paranormal or just wind? I don't know. Who knows?
And yeah, and at this point we'll never know.
Right.
And the thing is, I do like those stories. I like it was just like, I don't know, this shit happened. I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
I do like it when magic happens.
100%. Magic is everywhere.
That's right. It is in me. It is in you.
Yes. Well, to wrap up, I would love to share our last guest question with you. And you kind of, the entire episode kind of answered it. So we could just end it there if we wanted to. But Rachel Wax was our previous guest, and she asked...
Rachel Wax!
She asked...
Why do you think you feel so connected to spooky magic and that whole world?
I love Rachel Wax so hard.
And
yeah. And we never even got to like how I make it work at Speakeasy. Yeah, I mean, why spooky magic? I accidentally fell into it because I needed to find a way to create a world of magic on stage with no money, and that ended up involving people's imaginations, and that kind of led me down into the spooky realm. I never thought I was going to be a spooky magician. That not what I was aiming for in the slightest. But it's allowed me to create something really unique and different within I think theater and magic that I think even people who are working in the theatrical magic space haven't even hit upon quite yet. And I hope to be able to get to do at least one of my shows in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done them a little bit, but not like, I mean, like I want to get them like really produced.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's something I can make happen as I go into like the third, fourth act of my life. I don't want to say third or fourth because I don't know how long I'm living.
No final curtain yet, so.
Final curtain yet. Was the second part that how does it?
Yeah, do you find it different than performing close-up magic or parlor magic, just non-spooky magic?
Yeah, I mean it's always just a framing device.
Yeah.
It's take something classic and frame it. You could even do. Rachel has my favorite Professor's Nightmare, but you can do Professor's Nightmare as spooky. I mean, you don't sit there and go stretcho like like Daryl. Although I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love the Daryl stuff.
Yeah.
But like show the ropes and set them up, and maybe even like do the stretch without ever showing that you did the stretch, and then just ball them up and like leave them underneath the cloth. Seance, and then lift up the cloth, pick up the ropes from the right location. Now you show that you have the three ropes, and you count them out.
That's great.
Or maybe even start off that way. Start off with them. You count the 3 ropes of equal size, ball them up, put them in the box. Seance, right? Turn out the lights, crash, bang, boom, open up the box, and now people can reach in on their own and pull out 3 different ropes, right? Like, what does that trick have to do with ghosts? I don't know, but it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but reframing it
in that way,
like suddenly it's like, it becomes a little unnerving, like matter changed.
Yeah.
In this moment, right? when the lights were low and the candles were lit, and we were trying to communicate to something other than ourselves, right?
That's great.
So
I'm stealing it.
So I think it's just spooky. It's just a matter of just reframing what you already know what to do. And it's from Todd Robbins that I actually learned that yeah, it's like bizarre or spooky magic is not. Bizarre magic doesn't actually have to be scary. It can be funny scary.
Yeah.
It could be Elvira style, right?
Yeah.
So I will say. So I guess that's where I will say spooky magic over being different from bizarre magic, or an offshoot of it, is that if it's going to be spooky, something has got to feel unnervingly like a threat at some.
Yeah.
And if those ropes change in that box while I held them and the lights were out, I'm gonna freak out.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I know
we were joking. We have gotten to nearly 3 hours.
Yeah, and people will listen.
Will they read?
Elliot. I've got nothing but good reviews. People are listening to it, and I love that. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
And in 6 months, I'll see you in Vegas.
We're part 2 of the episode live at the Baggins Haunted Museum.
I appreciate you.